Hey everyone, and welcome to Television from the Multiverse, the DC TV podcast from MailFuzz TV. I am Peter, and joining me as always is Connor.
Yes, I am.
The enthusiasm is breaking
I'm
through
say
the
I'm
roof.
I'm I'm pacing myself. We got 6 shows to get through.
We do, but we have some interesting shows to get through, some
We
interesting
do,
things to
and that's why
discuss.
I'm saving the passion for the discussions.
Okay. So yes, we have 6 shows this week. We have Titans, Supergirl, the Arrow, Legends of Tomorrow, The Flash, and Black Lightning in that order to discuss. I believe next week a couple of them are taking a week off.
I believe so.
I think
Black
Flash and
Lightning and Flash,
yeah, I think
maybe.
they're taking a week off next week, meaning that we have a slightly easier week for recording and fitting on all the shows in, which is
Yes,
delightful.
that does really help out.
It is delightful. So, but hey, so we got a full slate this week, full slate of 6 shows. We'll get to those in a very short time. But do have a little bit of news to talk about first. Not much, but just a little bit. I want to start off with the news that broke today about Jesse L. Martin, who plays Joe on Flash.
Papa Joe himself.
Papa Joe, yes. He is taking a leave of absence from the show for a little bit due to a back injury that he has been working through for the early episodes, but needs some time off to recover. And if it sounds like I'm smiling about this, I'm actually, obviously I'm not happy he's got an injury. I'm happy because I kind of called this because I was noticing in the first couple of episodes that he was always sitting down. It felt like they were intentionally avoiding him having to do any kind of moving, or he was technically standing up once or twice, but he was always leaning against a wall or something. There was never
Yeah,
any moving, and I kind of noticed it. So I assumed it was like a leg injury. Turns out it was a back injury, but same difference.
that's worse.
It's worse. It's a worse injury for sure. But he'll be off for a little bit. So
They,
obviously it's a temporary thing while he gets better.
yeah,
But
they did say they were going to write a reason into the show.
I imagine
Um,
so.
so
He
they'll just go, oh, he's going off on holiday, right?
he's going off to join Wally. Find
No, he's just going to go relax at the beach.
tranquility.
Do
Uh,
you know what the thing is, though? Do we also lose Cecile as well? Because
that'd
it's
be a
kind of maybe weird if he takes off and the kid just leaves her with the kid,
that
right?
that would be a shame, but in a weird way, it would make sense for them to leave as a family unit. And it's like, yeah, you've just got a 6 weeks off yourself because your co-star, who's your husband, is having to leave.
It just seems weird as a character for him to just leave his family, right?
That's why I'm thinking maybe a Wally thing, where he wants to go spend father-son time with Wally. So it is just a personal one-on-one.
Normally, I'd agree, but with a newborn, that's still kind of it's a
True.
weird time to choose.
That's never stopped these shows from pulling
It
some weird
hasn't,
logic
and if
before.
they do that, I'll call it on its shit.
To be fair, Flash has had much bigger problems than pulling this just to give the actor an excuse to get some time off. I mean,
No, it is true. I mean, it's not at Arrow levels of doing that every week for Thea.
they might just avoid showing them for like a month or two.
Yeah. No, they did say
Okay,
they were going to write a reason into the show.
a different reason every week.
Oh, I hope so.
Because that was the Thea plan. It was like every week. Oh, she's away at a convention. She's away at
Yeah,
a financial
business
meeting.
meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
every
I
week it
miss
was
those
something different.
days.
I don't. It was awful.
Yeah, but it gave me an excuse to drink every time they came up with a stupid reason.
Your standards. You're so weird. Anyway, so yeah, so obviously, hopefully he has a speedy recovery. He's an asset to that show. And
Absolutely.
we'll see him back at some point. We got our first official look at the Monitor from Elseworlds, and this
Yeah,
was not.
we had some leaked set photos
Yeah,
a couple of weeks, but we didn't talk about them. But
yeah.
they were there.
There's been a few leaked set photos that I've avoided talking about, but this was one of them. But this has now been officially. This is Entertainment Weekly put out the official, image of the Monitor, and he looks pretty comic accurate, to be honest.
He looks mighty fine.
He looks pretty good. So curious to see what we're going to do here with
It's
with
this
this
is a
crossover.
proper DC event, this, isn't it?
It is. It was funny. There was other set photos that came out this week that there's one that I'm going to mention just because it wasn't like a spoiler. It was just it was it was just Supergirl and Batwoman. No, not in I mean they're in costume, but it was just them on set taking a selfie
Yeah.
together. So you saw her in outfit, Batwoman's outfit a bit more, naturally, with
Yeah.
them side by side, which is cool. But so I mentioned that one, but there was other set photos that maybe hint at some plot details for the Elseworlds crossover, which I won't get into because obviously it's spoilers if you don't want any of this stuff early. I will say that it did heavily imply at least one of the Elseworlds that I mean, assuming there's going to be more than one that we go to. There's at least
Interesting.
There could just be the one, and this will just be the one that we have. But there's definitely a specific type of version of a character now that I think is there based on a couple of images.
I don't think I've seen these images.
It's not as exciting as you're probably thinking it is in your head.
Is it something? Is it an adaptation of a specific Elseworlds?
If it is, I can't remember what the story is off the top of my head.
Right. You just keep going.
Just what it implies about something. I don't want to get into it, but anyway. So, but there's a lot of set photos going about. But yeah, the monitor looks good.
It definitely does. Yeah. I thought that when I saw the set photos, but it wasn't a great look, so I didn't want to mention it at the time. Even though we had an official announcement that monitor was going to be in it a while back, so it wouldn't have been a spoiler. But yeah, I'm down.
Yeah. To be fair, the one we were dodging last week wasn't monitor though. There was another character.
There was another one last week, but just in general, we didn't mention.
We were avoiding. And to be fair, Connor, the thing I'm talking about is not a character that we hadn't seen set photos of already. It's just the context of what that character is.
Yes, I'm seeing it now. Okay.
And some other photos about some set dressing that maybe add to an implication. But regardless, we will.
Yeah, I believe we got our first kind of look at Arkham.
Did we?
I think Guggenheim posted a picture on his Instagram, and we just saw like a cell door, from the inside of Arkham.
This might shock you, Connor, but I do not follow
no, I don't
Uncle
either.
Googie on Instagram.
I do not follow. I don't even have Instagram. I just saw it posted online, and yeah, it was the inside of it. It was just a cell door, if I recall, and it looks impressively grimy. You know, when they first announced Arkham, we had a bit of a debate as to how's it gonna look. We thought, maybe it'll just be like a regular looking hospital sort of thing.
No, but it looks proper grimy. Okay.
It looks proper grimy and dingy.
That's good.
I'm like, okay, I'm into that from what I can see of that.
I wonder if that's because if Batwoman gets picked up, this will be a constant set for that.
I would think so, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. So they put a bit of artistic style into it as opposed to just one and done location. That's cool. All right. Without further ado, let's just dive into the shows because we got 6 shows to talk about, and
we do. Yeah.
We don't want to have to split the episode up for the audio folk
again
because we go too long. We didn't last week either, admittedly, but I mean, it was borderline. It was borderline. So starting off with Titans. We start off with Titans. This is season 1, episode 3. It's called Origins. And we can obviously spoilers for each
indeed
episode as we go. Joe, I'll say, so Raven, obviously her dialogue is not particularly great. That's been one of the main complaints that we've had throughout the show, and the acting behind it isn't necessarily elevating it. I don't necessarily know if the actress herself is bad or if it's just the dialogue.
Yeah, I've not seen her in anything else. I'm not prepared to just blame her.
But I will say that I am slowly bonding with this character for the silliest of reasons.
I remember now.
Particularly her attitude with food, not just because of the no pineapple and pizza thing from last episode, which by the way is still very valid and very important, but in this episode, when Starfire catches up to her and they're at the Bolorama, the Skaterama. Yeah, and she's like, "Oh, I'm ready to go. You ready, Rachel?" And she's like sitting munching on fries, and she's like, "No, I ordered a burger as well." As she's stuffing fries in her face, and I'm like, you know what? I can get behind her. She always eating, and I approve of this.
The other one thing I can get behind, not in terms of attaching to characters that up till now I've not liked. I'm digging that Starfire's into the disco.
Yeah, the soundtrack to this episode was a really interesting mix of probably the best score we've had so far, where there was a lot of good synth in the score throughout the episode. But in every other time that wasn't score, it was like a disco track, and it kind of started because it was in Starfire's car, that's what was playing, and then she put it on the jukebox. And there was another couple that weren't really sourced from her, but we kind of assumed that it was.
It was always in her scenes.
Yeah,
there was that disco version of Sunny was feeling it.
Yes, so yeah, it was done with some positives. Raven's kind of grew on me for some stupid little things.
That far.
Sorry?
I wouldn't go that far for me.
Well, that's fine. That's fine. You don't have to go that far. And the music was pretty good. Outside of the awful main theme, the opening theme.
Oh God! Every so often they use it in the score, and I just hate it. Even when it's done differently. Like
Yeah, but it's not.
It's nowhere near as in your face.
It's not.
It's
It's a lot subtler. It's a lot of like, no, we're building to Titans becoming.
But
Titans,
I hate it by association.
So we have that. So the nuclear family kidnap Raven. The episode kind of started weird because it kind of showed us what the scene again from last week. Because at first I was okay with it because I thought, okay, it's going to show us something else that happened from Raven's perspective that we didn't see before. Because it was kind of like focusing on her viewpoint of what was happening when Dawn went off the roof. But then nothing actually happened and it just ended the same way.
Yeah. This would be fine if this was if it was a binge show and there was no previously on.
But there was like a minute long previously on.
There was a minute long previously on which just showed us this, and then we watched it again for 20 seconds, 30 seconds, and it felt redundant.
Yeah, if there's no previously ons, I have no problem with them maybe showing us the last 20, 30 seconds again and having it lead in.
Yeah. So that's fine, but this is clearly designed with the previously on.
Yeah, so that was kind of weird, but it's not. It's less of a complaint and more of just a weird observation as opposed to actually being annoyed at it. But so nuclear family has Raven. And they stop at a station for fuel, and they get out, and I was still enjoying this family because their dialogue with each other is really weird and surreal, because it's like they're acting like too young for their age, the kids, and they're asking for, oh, can I have money for soda, and they just, other little lines like that, and it's like,
and the sister's like, don't give it him, he gets hyper,
and dude, you're like 16.
Yeah,
who is 16 is like, oh, can I have money for sweets, please, mom, please?
It's like, just like, oh, just buy us a drink.
Yes. But yes, so Starfire shows up because she's tracking Raven. We see her at the house, at Raven's house, looking for clues, investigating, and then
where she definitely kills a cop.
Now, to be fair, we hear the police report later. No cops were murdered. We actually hear that the cops were just injured.
She threw him down the stairs. His neck looks snapped. I'm not having it. I'm sorry.
The bent neck policeman.
This is the same thing as like BVS Batman, where they go, "Oh, he's not killing anyone." It's like, yes, he clearly is. Look. This is the same here. It's like they're going, "Oh, she didn't kill anyone." Just because you said that doesn't mean she didn't. I saw it.
Look, I'm just saying, in terms of technicalities, they don't confirm. They actually outright confirm the opposite here, that there's not a death here. That's all I'm saying. They outright said this was not a death. That's just all I'm saying.
They say that, but that's not what we saw.
I'm not saying I agree with this medical diagnosis. It's not even a diagnosis. They're already dead, I don't think. But
no, I just think it's poor writing or poor choreography or shooting in that. What you have to actively tell us they're not dead, so because otherwise we're assuming they are.
It's the same with Dawn. Dawn's not dead. She's in the hospital on a respirator.
Yeah, she looked pretty dead last time.
Yeah, we thought she was dead. The show keeps making it look like everyone's dead, and they're not dead. However, nuclear family man, Dad, he gets burned alive. Starfire goes nuclear on him.
Yeah, he's dead.
He's definitely dead. He's burnt to a crisp, and they refer to that as a murder. Which at least confirms it, because we were speculating if there were androids, the nuclear family, and it turns out in the comics they do have a history of being androids, although they haven't always been androids, but they have a history of it. And I know that sounds weird if you don't read comics. Basically, they reboot things a lot and they change what things are.
Sometimes they are, sometimes they're
not. So at least the fact that they found a body and called it a murder, it means at least to a doctor it looks human.
At least when it's that badly burnt.
Yeah. What I'm saying is, though, it's not just like a robotic skeleton or anything like that. It's more Cylon-esque, where it's more kind of living tissue kind of body.
Yeah, they could be grown, maybe.
Possibly, yeah.
I'm not ruling that out, given some other dialogue options with them.
I'm just saying it's not Terminator or Ted from the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
No, it's not.
Who Buffy killed and thought she'd killed the person. It was a really sad episode with a really poignant, like, hard question of what does Buffy do if she accidentally kills a human? Does she have that power because she's this superhero? And then they kind of ruin all the drama of it by just having him show up as a robot at the end. It's a really frustrating episode because it's like it was really like the middle half of it's really good. The start's a little bit weird because it's just her being annoyed that her mum's dating someone, and the middle of it when it's like, oh, did she hurt a human being? Oh, what's the consequences of that? This is really interesting.
And then, never mind.
Nah, he's just a dumb robot.
Yeah, screw robots.
Anyway, so she saves Raven, and they're together now, and they're off. They go to the hospital, the orphanage where Raven was handed in as a child, and we get some. And there's a funny moment here. I did genuinely laugh when. Because Raven doesn't know who Starfire is, because she was hoping that she'd be able to tell her, who am I? I was looking for you, I thought you'd know, and she's like, no, I've never seen you before, I have no idea who you are. So she's pissed at that, but she's like, for some reason I feel the need to help you, so I'm going to keep helping you. So Starfire takes her to the hospital/orphanage. I can't remember exactly what they call it.
Oh, we have skipped over some of their road trip where they go into the diner.
Oh yeah, we need to talk about the diner scene. Yeah, no,
we do need to talk about the diner. Good catch,
because they go for food. And Starfire still looks completely ridiculous walking about in daylight with everyone else who's in normal clothes. And she sits down with Rachel, and this waitress has been really nice to them. And then this hillbilly asshole comes in, your typical abusive...
Comically over the top.
Yeah, comically over the top, mustached hillbilly, starts harassing the waitress and, grabbing her and things. And Starfire kind of intervenes, and then when he gives her cheek back, she just turns to Raven and says... Go wait in the car. And I thought, oh geez, these guys are dead. And to be fair, she doesn't kill anyone here. However, I did note that when she picked up a fork in the middle of this, because she snaps a couple of arms or whatever, and it's very violent but not death. She picks up a fork off a table, and I went, she's got a fork! And I was like,
no, everyone down.
It's either going in an eye or in the balls. I don't know which one. And it actually
somehow worse.
It somehow ended up being worse because the guy goes to punch her and she stabs a fork into the end of his knuckle, and it was like, oh my god, that looks painful.
I'm not even squeamish. I can watch all sorts of horrifying shit. Nothing in this show has made me recoil in the way that did. I think it was just unexpected.
It's unexpected. I think there's a couple of key things that are kind of... I don't want to use the word taboo, but there's a couple of things you don't expect to be injured in that way. And I think like cutting the back of your ankles is one of them, where if you cut the back of an ankle, like slice it completely open and it sort of splits in half, that usually gets most people. I think
that one doesn't bother me.
Close-up of something stabbing into an eyeball usually gets most people.
Yeah, that's fair.
And if you're annoyed that Connor's not been affected by this, just start poking syringes at him. He'll be squeezed a little bit.
Was it this episode or the last episode that happened?
That was the last episode.
I just had to look away.
Yeah, but they got you an arrow good this week.
Yeah, they did. And I think it was on the previously on for this as well, maybe.
Actually, yeah, I think it was. I think it was the previously on for this where they showed the syringe again, and they didn't.
And I was just like, for God's sake, did that really?
Because there was no warning. It just cut to the syringe get into his arm, and you were like, no.
Yeah.
Please no syringes.
It was horrific.
But yeah,
that was worse than the fork.
Oh, not for me. Because that was just a syringe in an arm. That was normal syringe usage.
Yeah, way worse than the fork.
No, you're weird. So together, and I got a good laugh here. There was an intentional laugh here that was really good, where Starfire pulls out because she had those keys right for like a lockbox that she didn't know what it was for.
Okay, we're back to the nuns now.
Yeah, and she pulls out her keys to the nun who's been like giving us all this information about Rachel, and this was your room and blah blah blah. And she's like, hey, do you happen to know what this is for? And the nun looks at it and goes, oh yeah, that's the roller skating down the street. It's fine. She's like, I know what that is.
So casual. I think the young uns like it.
Yes. So then we have a scene in the Skaterama where she goes to, it's got lockers and she goes up and she gets it. And I actually laughed out loud that when she opened the locker, there was just another key inside it. It was actually very Metroidvania, Resident Evil. One key leads to another key, which leads to another key, which leads, that's how these things work.
That's the whole season.
But again, it made me laugh because she reacts appropriately. She's like, oh, are you shitting me? Like, she has the right reaction to it. So it worked. And then that's when we have the scene with the Ravens eating and Starfire's like, here's $100 bill for the arcade.
And then a wild beast boy appears.
And then a wild beast boy appears in heat because he's like, oh, this Raven looks nice. And he goes up and tries to like, oh, you playing Twilight Zone pinball. Oh, aim for that thing. Like, he's really into her. He's going for it. I never thought the introduction for Beast Boy would just be that he has the hots for Raven and that's how he wings his way into the group. But here we are.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they bond a little bit, and then Dick shows up because he's been tracking. Of course, you see, he's still got some Batman satellite technology because he tracks license plates and shit with his tablet, and he's doing all sorts of fancy.
In his very nice car.
Yeah, and that's mostly what the flashbacks are. It shows us how he gets this. You know, he falls in love with this car when he's adopted by Bruce Wayne.
I don't blame him.
We keep cutting back to these flashbacks to him and the social worker, and the social worker be like, "Hey, like Bruce Wayne's offering you a place to stay. You're incredible. There's a billionaire offering you a place in his mansion. Just take it."
Yeah.
Take it, you dumb shit. And he tries to run away a bunch of times. We get the worst visual effects shot of the entire show so far in one of these flashbacks. There's a scene where young Dick jumps out of his window, and he does some of his acrobats, of course. He's doing his flying
swings
races
around on the tree branch.
Yes, he jumps onto a tree, swings to another tree branch, and then swings to the ground. And for some reason, they decided to go so over the top with this that they had to do it in CG rather than just hire someone, like a stunt person who could do some flips. They wanted it to look almost unnaturally real. Which...
Do you know what I assume it was? The only thing I can assume is they had someone willing to do some flips, but the tree itself wasn't stable enough. Like where they were, like maybe the tree's like, okay, that might not hold if you jump on that.
Yeah, it may be a safety reason more than anything else. But it looks awful. The CG, because Dick himself is CG as he's flipping, and it looks absolute garbage. It looks terrible, and it's an eyesore. Which is weird because I don't think the CG in this show, outside of a couple of key moments, because there's a bit with glass later on that looks a bit rough as well, but it's not
the worst I've seen. It's not amazing. It's never amazing,
but it's not
usually passable.
Yeah, because even the tiger wasn't bad though. Like the tiger wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be.
No, I remember saying that. I mean, there are moments like that. I think it's stuff with Raven has not been that great at times. But nothing's been this bad.
Yeah.
This was next level bad.
Luckily, this is probably the last we see of it. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Because that's maybe the other thing is that it'd have to be a stunt kid to do it, potentially. Yeah. Which makes it even harder. Once you've got him in a costume and he's an adult, it's easier to get stunt doubles to do crazy things. Maybe
it is, and it would be easier if it was you could just do force the perspective, but because it's a tree, and people know how big trees are.
Traditionally, yes.
yeah, it's harder to trick your eyes.
Yeah, so Dick and Starfire aren't very likable with each other, but they kind of get along well enough for Raven's sake. Raven gets upset because Dick lied to her and smashes out a bunch of car windows. Luckily not his car though, because he loves his car. He's very upset with Raven later on when she steals it.
No, he is. I'm just going to say, when he goes into the garage and it's like all the cars are parked down there, and he's like, all right, which one am I taking? I'm with him. Out of all the ones in that one, the 90s 911 is definitely the best there. There's only a handful of cars that I would pick above it.
Sure.
Like, if there'd been a nice sexy Jaggy down there, then...
I can't name any of the cars. I would have no preference, really.
No, I remember there being a Mustang in there. I don't remember the others now. I remember I was drunk by this point.
Oh, you were very drunk by this point, but that's the point. So they go back, and unfortunately they leave Raven on her own because Starfire steals Dick's car. Dick chases after her. It leads to where the key went to, which was a big storage locker. As in one of these big ones where it's like you can actually put a car in if you want.
Rent a room. Yeah.
And it's actually like our office essentially. She's got like a big detective board. She's got Temerian writing on the walls, which she can speak, but she doesn't understand what it means. She just kind of like says it, and he's like, "What's this?" And she's like, "I don't know." Yeah. And it looks like she's been looking for Raven for like 2 years. Like for some reason, Raven can help her, or she needs to save Raven for some reason, or.
Yeah, we get a lot of hints in this episode about Raven's dad, so I guess we're going down that route.
Yeah, it's when the nuclear family, after they lose the father, are being chastised for failing, and they're told they're getting a new father. They reference her dad, and I think
they
someone
don't
else
name him, do they?
No one names him. No one says Trigon.
No. But I'm working under the. Obviously, we know that the too much. I'm working under the assumption that the nuclear family and this guy they're working for are the Cult of Blood, or at least this show's version of the Cult of Blood.
I would Yeah, my assumption right now is that we'll tease him throughout the season, and we'll maybe see him for the first time in the finale, and
Yeah.
then it'll be the main big bad for season 2. That is my thinking right now.
Quite possibly. I can see it the season ultimately being trying to prevent him coming through and then maybe failing at the end.
Yeah. And then they have to really band together next year to take him down.
Yeah. Because, I mean, it's one thing with 3 episodes in now, and we haven't actually got a hint properly, of, okay, what's the villain for the season, right?
Yeah, I
We're
think
going,
it's just...
okay, we're seeing Trigon here, but maybe there's not actually much to go on.
No, I think it's just this group are the villains this year, and stopping Trigon from coming is the goal.
Yeah.
If they even get as far enough to realize that's what they're trying to do, because right now they don't have a clue about this yet.
It's true, and it's moving relatively slowly for 3 episodes in terms of progression where we are.
Yeah, at the same time, I don't think it's going too slow. I think for the complaints I could levy at this show, I don't think it's dragging its feet either.
I didn't mean that as a criticism. I just mean, okay, we're 3 episodes in, and the team's not even all together yet. I mean, we've had them all in the same room once.
I mean, it is definitely paced more of a cable show or a streaming show than it is a network show.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate, even if, a lot of the characterizations and
as long as it holds up over the season. Right now, I'm fine with the pacing.
Yeah, as long as take out the bloody death stuff that is the obvious problem, then it's it's nice. Because I think it's a lot more. I'm into elements of it, and it's a lot more, I think, enjoyable than I'd ever would have assumed based on the trailer, right? A lot more than that. But there are obviously these things that we keep pointing out are like, well, okay, it's too violent.
Kind
of
really ruin your enjoyment, don't they?
And it leaves it in this weird place where I'm still intrigued. I'm still kind of into the ride just to see how they're going to handle all this crazy shit. But there are definitely things every so often they'll just be reminded, oh yeah, but there's this thing that's wrong with it, or there's this thing that's wrong with it.
There's points where there's just really awkward, clunky conversational dialogue. Like when the police chief phones Dick to tell him about something, and then it ends. Oh, by the way, your partner's dead.
Oh, that made me laugh out loud because she left it to the end of the conversation to be, oh yeah, and by the way, your partner died. She got killed.
Yeah, and that didn't feel like it was meant to be funny.
No, that wasn't an intentional
laugh. That was just, I should probably mention that. Oh yeah, Dick, you need to know this information. We should probably have someone mention it.
Yeah. Also, we're getting to a point now where people should be questioning why he's away from his job and his home. Well, not his hometown, but his working town this long.
Well, I mean, no, he was on. He took vacation days.
Did he? I don't remember that.
Yeah. No, I'm sure of that because at the start, when the police chief phones him and says, "Oh, yeah, about that case," he's like, "I know you're on your holiday or whatever."
Oh, okay.
But then he goes off over to the gas station, and whaps out his badge. He was like, "Hey, all right, I'm on this case." So I assume they phone back and it's like, "Yeah, okay, your dude's here."
All right, okay.
So they're probably aware that he's kind of working the case, just following the trail.
All right, I'll let it go for now. But there's a point where it'll be ridiculous, depending on how long it lasts.
There is, yeah.
But but it kind of ends with the nuns actually turn out to want to lock Raven in a room, sort of possession style, and have crucifixes everywhere, and the demon side of her taunts on the mirror until she lets her kind of explode essentially, and we see that Raven's escaped and she's running into a forest. The final shot is her running into a forest,
which undoubtedly has Beast Boy in there.
I mean, I saw the next time on, so yeah. I'm not even just sure of it. I know.
Did we watch the next time on? Did I watch the next?
We did. Yeah. We did. Yeah, we watched that together. It was there.
Okay.
It was there. And there was a teaser put out for the next episode showing some of the Doom Patrol. So Beast Boy's tied to Doom Patrol. We're going to see some Doom Patrol next episode.
Okay, cool.
So we'll see how that goes. But, I mean, for everything I hate, there's something else I like and laugh at. Sometimes it's intentional, sometimes it's not intentional.
Yeah.
But I suppose the entertainment value is there one way or another, so I guess I can't critique it too harshly, even though the things that it's getting wrong is really upsettingly wrong.
Yeah, it's offensively wrong at points.
Yes.
It's one of these where I think I said in episode one is how I feel about some of the other movie adaptations in the past, where it's not a good adaptation, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad TV show.
All right, then let's move on to Supergirl, which is season 4, episode 3. It's called Man of Steel, which is a bit of a play on words, of course, because this is not nothing to do with Superman. This is a different context, different meaning behind Man of Steel, and this is
appropriate once you've seen it.
It's appropriate once you've seen it. Yeah, once you get the whole story, it makes sense why they called it that. And obviously, it's a play on words given what it means to the to the Superman mythology.
Yeah.
So we set off the kryptonite dispersal bomb last episode, and this episode starts. I kind of like that Alex just phones Jean and is like, "Hey, look, this thing went off. Supergirl was flying over here. We don't know where she is." And immediately he just, because he's about to confront Lockwood. He's about to confront what's his face, Agent Liberty, and he's like, "Okay, I'm on it," and he just immediately goes and flies off to try and get her.
I did question, how long does she take to fall?
That is a good question.
Because she is presumably already falling when Alex phones Jean.
Well, see, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and say that when their alarm goes off saying they've detected kryptonite, it's before it's actually hit Kara, because Kara's flying quite high in the sky. So they detect it early enough that the timeline just lines up when Jean gets there. And she was flying high enough, then she kind of maybe doesn't completely just drop immediately. She kind of flutters a bit and eventually goes down.
Whatever.
I don't know.
It doesn't really matter. I questioned it while I was watching it.
I agree that it feels like, wait, how long was she falling when he gets to her? But he catches her in the last second, of course, nick of time.
Naturally.
Because TV. And brings her back. And they put the shield thing on her that tries to help with the solar radiation to try and help fight the kryptonite. And it's not until the end of the episode, of course, where they call Lena, who, by the way, if she does not know that Kara is Supergirl by this point, then I will brand her an idiot.
I'm frankly willing to do that already.
Well, even if she knows?
Yeah, no, if she didn't know before this already.
Oh, sure. No, let's be honest, we've been feeling this way ever since they had that fight, and there was that moment in the elevator afterwards last season.
Yeah, but I'm thinking even was it last episode where they were running around in the corridors together?
Sure, yeah.
And then as soon as she's out of the sight, oh, Supergirl's here.
Yeah.
No, How did you get in the building? We're on lockdown. Oh, I found a way.
On top of all these events, the fact that Alex seems to be close to both Kara and Supergirl, the fact that there's scenes where everyone in that social circle's there but Kara, but Supergirl's there. There's been enough at this point where she would be an idiot not to know. So if she doesn't know, if she finds out at some point and it's like, oh, it's like a shock, it's like, what? Then I'll say the writers made her an idiot.
Well, all I'm saying is, if Cat Grant could figure it out, I would bloody hope Lena Luthor could.
Sure, I like Cat Mulling.
I like Cat too, but she's not typically the sharpest in the room at all times.
She has been in this show though. She's been
pretty sharp, yeah. But is she on par with a Luthor?
Depends on the Luthor, I suppose. No one's matching up to Lex. Lex is a criminal mastermind. That's his thing.
He is, but I mean, Lena's not that far behind.
So at the end, she comes in. She's like, "Oh, I've got this suit that'll protect her." It's very Iron Man-esque the way it kind of forms around her. But she'll have to stay inside it until we fix this and the atmosphere's fixed.
So Kara suddenly can't come into work or can't go see a friend.
Exactly. She's now in this suit,
or take a shower for that matter.
They may even crack some jokes about that. I can see them doing that, but or maybe they'll come up with a reason like inside the suit they can spray water inside and it'll clean inside the suit or some shit. I don't know. It'll work. I mean, if nothing else, I expect her to crack some jokes about it getting smelly.
I would hope so.
Yes, and sweaty because naturally. But do you know what I like about this? I like that it's essentially like a spacesuit for her, but on Earth. Because I was like, oh, that's what you'd have. That's how we can survive if we go into space. We have a suit. That's sealed.
And
that's what you do.
Correct me if I'm wrong. This already had her logo and stuff on it.
Yes, because Lena said she was designing it for something, right?
Yeah, but like Lena already had it ready to go. It wasn't like she's just whipped this up today.
Oh, sure, yeah. This was something she might have threw a logo on it at the last second, but the actual technology was not just.
Yeah, it's so interesting that she had it pre-built with the logo on it ready, like almost as a gift for
her. Yeah, interesting. But no, so that was basically the only present day stuff. Was the start and the end. It was her falling, being captured or being caught, and then okay, let's give her this suit that'll let her survive in a spacesuit essentially for probably a few episodes, I imagine, before we
Probably,
fix it.
yeah.
Which will be fun. I actually, I think as much as they'll all be sad that this is a problem they have to deal with, there'll be a lot of humour, I think, about her walking around in this clunky big suit, and
I hope so.
yeah, I'd expect it. But the bulk of the episode, though, and a kind of ballsy move, was actually the origin story of Agent Liberty, who we find out is Ben Lockwood in the episode, played by Sam Witwer. And Joe, what I really liked about this, Joe, what I thought was really smart about this, as much as a lot of the goofy plots we've had for the seasons have not been that great on their own.
Yeah.
I actually like that they're building up his mentality, his viewpoint, based on the accumulative events of everything that's happened from Aliens over the last 3 years.
Yeah, I like it in theory.
Okay.
I think it comes off as maybe a little too much to one dude. Like, okay, it's his house. Right after he says, "Oh, at least we still got the house," and then 3 minutes later, it's on fire.
Sure, I'll accept that, but I think for me, so many times when we get motivations from characters like this, on a network show specifically, they'll have a line of dialogue about losing their house, or they'll have a line of dialogue about, those aliens took my father's job and he ended up dead like 2 years later. We hear lines like that all the time. Actually seeing him and his family watch their house burning after our hero, one of our heroes, Martian Manhunter, swoops down and saves them from a Daxamite. We see them.
You're welcome.
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, you're safe now. You're welcome," and he flies off, and then their house burns to the ground in front of their eyes. Actually, seeing that gives this way more weight than they've ever given any villain, I think.
Definitely. I will say, this episode in general, it typifies Supergirl for me, in that you've got some really clunky, corny dialogue saved by some great acting.
Oh, that's been a running thing in the host, because Benoist, what's his face, Jordan. When
yes, yeah,
they have numerously saved dodgy scenes with great acting. I remember it was the scene where he got angry and was in a fight with his dad, I think, maybe. Was he? No, it was his mum.
His mum.
But
yeah,
there was scenes
about his dad
that would have like landed like a thud, but the acting, and it was Laurie Metcalf as well, who also won or was nominated for an Oscar at least.
Yeah.
The acting raised it from, and it happens with Melissa Benoist all the time. She'll be in this stupid scene, but her acting will completely uplift the whole thing. What was your example? I'm sure you were getting to something here.
No, there was a few times throughout this where
Whitwer maybe.
Where Whitwer is just there's these situations that are kind of almost comically over the top to keep happening to this guy.
Sure, yeah.
And it feels like okay, it's getting kind of ridiculous, but he sells it.
No, I kind of agree. I think also his father in this, Xander Berkeley, is an actor I like a lot. He if you don't know him, he's one of those actors that's been popping up in small roles in everything you've seen for the last 30 years. He's John Connor's foster father in Terminator 2, to go back to an earlier one. He was in the early seasons of 24. He's been in so much over the years.
You've definitely seen him somewhere, even if you don't remember.
I just gave you an example from 1991 and then 2001, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of examples from the last.
You'll probably find one in 2011 as well.
Probably.
To complete the trend.
But the point I'm making is that he pops up all over the place, and I didn't expect him to stick around, but I saw him and I was like, oh, I know him. I even saw his name in the guest starring before I saw his face. I was like, oh. I'm happy he's around, and he's kind of the racist, xenophobic old, the grandfather, Sam Witwer's dad, and he's like, oh, they're using nth metal, and I like this as a plot point. I was like, oh, they're using nth metal because it's better, so all the steel workers are all pissed.
There was a second I was like, wait, nth metal? Do we have nth? Was that a thing already on this show?
I think they've mentioned it once or twice.
Okay, that's cool. I just didn't remember. I was like, oh, cool, we're doing nth metal stuff.
And if they haven't, then it's still cool. Whatever.
Yeah, I will say it's weird that nth metal has been this booming industry for at least 2 years, and then all of a sudden I'm like, huh, nth metal, and he's like, shit, everything's got nth metal in it now. It's everywhere. Yeah,
but how often do we talk about the industrial things in Supergirl?
I just to the point where in this episode he looks down at his whiteboard and his whiteboard pen, and it's got this nth metal logo on it.
Well, but the thing is though, is when would that ever have been brought up before naturally?
In any of Lena's business stuff when she's discussing lab stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, at the time, if she'd casually mentioned we're using nth metal, and maybe she didn't, you're just forgetting it, by the way. Someone's going to correct us and say
it is possible.
Yeah,
yeah.
Season 2, episode 17. They mentioned this year.
Willing to accept that as a possibility.
And you just forgotten it, and I've forgotten it. But like, I think we would at the time you would have just taken that as it's a throwaway little joke. They'd mentioned nth metal. That's cool.
I think that's why I feel like I'd have remembered it, just because. Well, that would stick out.
But
to me.
I don't think it matters that they didn't know if they haven't.
Fair enough.
Because I think the one thing I will say is that when we started last season, when we started this idea that there's a lot of aliens on Earth, and we're using it as like a social group, but there's an actual civilization of aliens kind of mixed in with the population. And then in this episode, we see that there's students in the university. There's alien students in each class, and we kind of use that as in the plot. And there's alien bars and things. If we're at that point and we've got nth metal in industry, I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. They've brought it with them, right? The nth metal's a thing. And we see, and I mean, obviously his dad's workers who go like want to start fights with the alien workers and the other plant. Sure, they're a bit over the top and rough acting wise. Like, I'm not going to argue that. But I think what I liked about this one is the idea that we're actually taking the events, because we see his dad watching the Supergirl Hope speech from the end of season 1. And he's like, aliens, and he obviously at this point Sam Witwer's like, I'm defending them, Lockwood's very, so no, like they're not doing anything wrong. She is trying to help, and
he tries to jump in and stop them beating up the alien workers,
and he gets stabbed with one of the spikes that fire out of his arm spike, yes, and then. Then we cut to a year later, and it's when Terry Hatcher's Daxam mum comes on screen, and she's like, "Oh, we come in peace, but we've got a fleet of ships and all this."
And you got the dad go, "Here we go again."
Yeah, and it's at this point where he's starting to be sort of convinced, and then his dad finally dies, and from the Daxamite invasion and all that. And one of the little points that I liked was that he becomes more extreme. He loses his job. He goes on this rampage. In his class.
I appreciate at least having 2 lectures, because the first one wasn't. It was edgy, right? But it wasn't like over the line necessarily.
Yeah,
he was presenting the idea of, okay, progress. Sure, we all like progress. It's good, but who's paying the price? He brings up these examples of like, sure, America being discovered for great for us, progress, but maybe not so good for the Native Americans.
Yeah. That one was a lot more. It was like, okay, just think about who's paying for it, but it wasn't so much rhetoric. Whereas the second one, it was like, oh, these filthy roaches are coming in taking our jobs.
Yeah, and I really appreciate we didn't jump straight to that one. I liked having the 2, just because the first one, okay, you can see where it's heading, but it felt realistic enough that he was just trying to challenge the opinions, right? Going, okay, think about it.
And again, there was enough time that had passed between them, big events had passed between them, that you could tell that this had been bubbling. And then I liked that the alien students were walking out. I liked that some of the humans were walking out because they were equally disgusted. It felt, it felt natural enough. But one of the things I liked about this is that he gets fired from his job after that, and it's like the dean or one of the people on the board, and she's like, I always liked you, but you're going off the deep end here, and gives him shit.
Is the dean.
As the dean, right? Later on, when he runs into her after the Daxam invasion happened, and we find out that
she's lost her home.
She's lost her home, and it doesn't go too far with it. It's just like, hey, here's a leaflet. It's, we're just like a support group. Come and talk to us about it.
She's like, okay.
And what I liked about that is that it actually felt believable that after what happened to him, or it was Daxam with him. With her, it was the end of season 3. It was the terraforming from the evil Kryptonian witch. It was like, okay, we saw that happen with Daxam, and it makes sense that it would be almost even worse with the terraforming, because that would be almost worldwide, like all this crazy stuff's happening. And it was like, okay, I get that you're someone who was against what he was saying before, just like he was with his father, but now something's happened to you, you're starting to be swayed more over to the hate side.
And you get jaded because it's affected you personally.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, at least in the idea, selling me that he's convincing groups of people. Now as Agent Liberty, he's standing in a room and he's like riling people up. I actually feel like I understand, or I'm convinced that this is believable enough that people are being railed up, and they are being...
What I really like about it is, as Mercy points out, he's a great speaker.
Yes.
And I think that's what backs up the Agent Liberty persona, is charismatic.
Yeah, because they bring him on board because of that. It's not because... It's not like he does turn to like a darker side where he is murdering aliens, right? That does sort of come up eventually.
A couple here or there, yeah.
Yeah, you say that as if that, it's only a couple, it's not a lot.
No, but what I mean is, it's nowhere compared to what he's going to be at.
Oh, of course, yeah. Sure. But he does go down a dark path first. It's not like he's still on the side of just being a rhetoric speaker.
No.
He is murdering aliens with other people. They are doing hits. They're attacking bars, things like that. And this is when Mercy and Otis recruit him. And it's like, here's an outfit, but they don't give him the mask. I like that it's just body armor at first, and he actually gets the mask from his dad's old steelworks plant.
Yeah.
And it's a steel mask because it was like, oh, this is my father's mask that not the one that he wore, but one that he made, like, you know, in his plant.
Yeah.
And it's like a symbolic thing, and yeah, as always with Supergirl, there are some rough edges where you can go, okay, that seems a bit on the nose, that seems a bit cheesy.
Even the idea of using the steel industry is maybe a little on the nose for what they're doing here.
Yeah, why not use... well, I guess it makes sense, though, because steel is something that's made, so the idea that new steel is made with nth metal does make sense.
I get it. I get it. It just feels like, okay, I get what you're going for, right?
Because what else could you use? What other alien element from DC Comics could you use in a different industry?
You could do something. You could do something to do with transport, right? Like, you know, maybe they got different, you know, engine technology. Anything.
Okay. There's a lot of possibilities, but then again, they think of it and they go, "Oh, we want to call this Man of Steel. We can do, you know, we can connect it with that." They wanted that connection.
They did. I get it. I will say, there was a scene where, you know, where him and the worker buddies, after the funeral, they go to burn down the factory, and all of them get the Molotovs straight in their window.
Different windows as well. It's perfect. It's like 4 different levels of windows, and they all hit the perfect window so that
bullshit.
The fires spread. Yeah, no, I was calling shenanigans on this, and
bullshit.
It also looked kind of rough as well from a visual effects standpoint.
It did.
Yeah, so I'll critique that scene.
Come on, at least have one of them. Yes.
Because obviously the effects are up and down in Supergirl depending on what they're doing. Sometimes they spend a lot more time on a moment because they know that moment's a big deal. But sometimes it's like, oh, we just have to have someone catch something, you know, and we'll just do it, whatever. But yeah, so yeah, I'm pretty positive on this episode. I think Supergirl this season for me is kind of 3 for 3, and arguably progressively better in terms of what it's trying to do, in terms of its overall point and plot.
Yeah. And like I said, I think Liberty is maybe the best villain that we've had yet for the show.
I agree. After I mean, obviously he appeared in the last 2 episodes, but after one proper episode, he's already better than every other season's villain.
Such a different kind of villain. Like, he's not, okay, you know, come punch me, right? He's got the charisma and you know, to turn the crowds, to turn the people against her, and that's different. Yeah,
it's about spreading hate, which not only is it a different type of villain that Supergirl can't just punch. I mean, she can punch Agent Liberty, but she can't punch hate in the face. It's also...
She can try.
It's also very topical as well. It's a very... You know, obviously Supergirl likes to do that anyway, but I feel like the idea of making the villain itself, the idea of spreading hatred, is a really... It's a challenging topic to tackle, and we'll see how they handle it, but...
So far, so good. Like I said, he's got the charisma. You've got a good actor to back it up.
Yeah, and I think Melissa Benoist equally can do the talking on the other side of the aisle.
We've seen time and time again that she can.
So having an ideological debate between them could be something, and I think having him be... I don't want to say sympathetic. I think by the time you get to the end of the story, he's not sympathetic anymore. But
you understand the journey that he's taken. You see how he's gotten there, and I think you're not sympathetic, but you can empathize in that you understand what has happened to him.
Yeah, but he's obviously taken the wrong lessons from certain things.
He's gone far too far, sure. But you understand why he's angry, why he doesn't like this. You know, you get it.
And how it's kind of easy to buy into this just general blanket hate as opposed to something that should be more nuanced, right? Something that should be more...
Yeah, and I think we needed this episode, because it would have been really easy to just tell us this in exposition, like this is this dude's backstory, right?
It's like I said at the start of this discussion, how many times in a show like this have we had a line of dialogue where it's like, oh, my father got killed because of this, or my father lost his job because of this.
But dedicating, you know, pretty much an entire episode to it.
I think that scene where they watch their house burn down after Martian Manhunter thinks he's just saved them is the best scene in the episode, and it makes the point better than even the rest of the episode could.
I agree. I just wish they hadn't put the line literally like a minute before about how it's like, look, it could be worse. We've still got the house. We've still got each other. And then 3 minutes later, or whatever it was, it's like, okay, House is burning.
Yeah, that's fair. But I think the idea of Jean, a character we know and like and love, and
Who thinks he's just saved their lives,
yes,
and you go, all right, you're fine now.
who has the best of intentions, but he has to like continue the fight because there's other, there's Daxamites everywhere killing people. He has to go and save people, and he leaves, and their home's just burning behind him. It's this idea of not sticking around afterwards to help calming people.
Unintended consequences.
And then there's all the scenes where he interacts with one character, one of our main cast.
I thought they might have gone maybe a little bit too far with this. Like
that's fair.
Having like Alex show up right at the scene the first time, absolutely should be there.
I thought Lena was good because it was directly related to the industry.
The one that stuck out to me was maybe Kara just in the bar.
Do you know what's funny you say that? Because I actually liked that one because it was the funniest. Because
it was. I like it in what it's there. I like it, but
it
was like, okay, one too many.
And it places it as well because it's the karaoke night. Because she's like, oh, do I do Beastie Boys or
Africa by Toto? It should have gone with Africa.
Don't get me wrong. As funny as it was seeing her doing Beastie Boys, I would love to see her doing Africa by Toto. I would love to see it.
That would have been so much better.
I'm upset.
Screw you, random alien girl who told us to do Beastie Boys.
I know, damn it. You changed the course of the entire show for no reason. I'm not happy. But no, I am actually really positive about this episode. I think it might not necessarily be hitting everything it's trying to do, but it's trying really hard to really tackle this.
It's in the right place.
It really is. And it always has been for the most part, to be fair.
It has. It's had some missteps recently, but I'm feeling this so far. I just hold the course. Don't fall off the tracks.
Yeah, hopefully it does. Hopefully it can. Agent Liberty is by far the best villain Supergirl's had.
It's like, okay, he's popped over the last but one proper appearance.
Yeah,
and I think he's good. Don't get me wrong, he is good. We've just spent 10-15 minutes praising him, but it's more a testament to how weak the villains overall have been for the show.
That's true, but I do think this is also good as well. I don't think it's just he's just best because they were bad. I think even if they had like an average level of like decent villains,
he'd probably still be the best. But
yeah,
he's good. He is very good.
Yes,
but it feels bad to be able to definitively say no. He is the best. Okay, to
put it into a better comparison, then he might end up being better than any of the Flash's main villains. When all's said and done. Admittedly, Thorn's a hard one to beat. But
season 1 Thorn is going to be a tough challenge to top.
But if they can continue the path here, he could be a contender against him.
Potentially. Yeah.
And it could actually mean more because it is more deep-rooted into actual real issues as opposed to... Whereas, Thorn's fun because it's like time traveling, murdering mums.
Yeah, and it was a great relationship with Barry for that villain.
Yeah. So, no, it's interesting. And the one thing I did like about the Kara scene was how he kind of like assumed she was human, and then,
which plays into the things that she's being told this season. It's like, oh, you get away with it, right?
Yeah.
And she literally had that interaction not that long ago, and didn't even notice that she was getting that special treatment. Clearly,
absolutely, yeah. And do you know what I like about it as well is it kind of like plays into the mythos of Superman and Supergirl as a whole, because a big part of their character is they put on the glasses, they pretend human being, right? That's a big part of like the whole mechanic of Superman. And I do like the idea of challenging that and saying, yeah, that's actually a privilege that you even get to do that. Like that's an interesting little thought to speculate and bring up and explore. When other aliens can't do that. You get spiky things sticking. Even Jean gets to shapeshift and he
does, and I think he's much more willing to accept that. Okay, he's pretty lucky, right?
Yeah,
he seems to be much more receptive to that concept than Kara does.
But I think that may partly become from his history, where he was on a planet where a race war wiped out his species, essentially.
Yeah, it's true. He's been through it.
It's just the most severe example of a race war you could maybe think of in terms of fiction. Well, maybe someone's going to bring up a book or something. You know what I mean? I just mean, like, his entire species was wiped out because of racism, essentially.
Yeah.
It doesn't get much worse than that. That's worst case scenario, pretty much.
It generally is, yeah. I'll tell you another scene I really liked, and it was one that made Liberty feel again believable. Was the scene with Jimmy when he goes up to Catco and he's like, "Hey, why are you not not necessarily condemning the aliens, but showing that the human side, like all the loss that we're getting, right? Like all
Yeah,
our homes are gone.
they're just not talking about because as he puts it, you wrote that article and it was really well written and a lot of good points, but you treated it like it was finished, like it was done.
Yeah. And he goes, yeah, but what about all our homes are gone, we're all our work, and Jimmy's like, yeah, I know, we published it. He's like, yeah, in the business section, you've reduced us to just some stats at the back of the paper. Where's the story about all of us who have lost our homes?
Which is interesting because when I think of like Superman or more specifically Clark Kent as a reporter, I think of him as like going after those types of stories, the human side of these kinds of events.
Right, which is why I thought, no, I like that because what he's asking there was not unreasonable.
Oh, it's not. No, in that scene, because I think it's after this scene where he starts to go really off the deep end because he feels he's not been listened to.
Because this is right after he's lost his house.
Yeah.
And obviously that's where he goes off. But this here, he's very agitated and he's maybe a little aggressive with Jimmy. Don't get me wrong, but I think his heart or his point is in the right place.
Yeah.
With what he's saying there, even if the motivation for it is maybe coming from the wrong place.
Yeah, and Jimmy's like response to it is like I think Jimmy sympathizes with them and understands them, but he's in businessman territory, and obviously there's the little blow here where he finds out Lena now owns the cat.
Yeah, I thought kind of a bit of a dick there. He's got this guy here. This guy's very clearly upset and is very passionate about what he's just been through, right? And then it's like, oh, there's a call from Lena. He's like, all right, fine, go on then. Sorry to cut it short.
Yeah. The sad part about that is though, it's not because it's his boss; it's because it's his girlfriend.
Yeah.
Or they were at least flirting by that point. I can't remember.
They were.
Yeah.
I don't know where exactly it was, but either way, it kind of felt a bit. It's like you're not helping the situation there, right?
Yeah. It was just. You
just needed to talk to the fella.
Yeah, he was being not obsessed, but just.
Self-absorbed.
Self-absorbed, yeah. That's the phrase.
Yeah, kind of just caught up in his own bubble.
Yeah. And yeah. So again, that's the sort of thing where I think if this was a Daily Planet and this guy came walking in, Clark would sit down and actually listen to him and would get a plot of him looking into this and then trying to help in some way. Yeah. And maybe I can see that being kind of maybe the result in the lessons that maybe Supergirl and Jean take from this, where they have to help after the fact. They have to help with the cleanup.
Yeah, maybe we okay, sure, the humans were the ones causing some of the problems here. And we want to be pro-alien and say, okay, look, these are great, but we can't just forget about them. They need the coverage as well, right?
Oh yeah, because I think for Jean and Kara, it's not about being on the alien side necessarily. It's more about just not being on the hateful side.
Of course. Yeah, of course. But this guy here, when he comes in, he's not being hateful. He's like, look, I understand everything you said, but we lost our homes too. We deserve some sympathy. Basically.
Yeah, but we're past that point now. The characters can't react to him like that now because
no, of course not.
Now we're at a stage where he's a dangerous person.
I think that's why it's interesting to me. It's too late. Karen Jean could have prevented this.
Well, which is why I'm saying I think the lesson that they might take from this, once they know all the facts, once they've looked into him, I assume they'll learn about his past, about his family. And I can see Kara almost trying to talk him down. Like I can see that being a big point in this season where she tries to make him become more of who he was before, and convince him. And it's a lack of understanding on both sides. It's a lack of understanding of Kara and Jean and other superpowered aliens, or specifically them because they're the heroes who are in the fights and buildings are being torn down and whatnot. But I think it's a lack of understanding on Lockwood's side, where he's not really understanding everything else they are doing all day and why they're doing it and why they don't have time to stop and help with just a house that's been burned down when there's another crisis. There's someone trying to drop a mountain on Central City. I mean, Flash has probably got that one handled, but you know what I mean. Like, yeah, there's always something else, and they don't necessarily have time to deal with every little.
It reminds me of what Justice League, the comic, maybe a year ago now,
yes.
Christopher Priest tried to do.
Yes.
Where, okay, the Justice League, it's like there's a bigger picture, like what do we do? But obviously the public doesn't necessarily always see that. And the story got a bit cut short, but maybe over the course of this season we can get a really great version of that story.
Yeah, it's the idea that once someone's in power, and in the case of Supergirl and Jean, it's almost just by happenstance. I mean, Jean kind of got his way into it by there for years, but when you're Supergirl, Superman, you just kind of like, okay, now I'm a superhero and I'm doing these things. You're almost then open to criticism because you're on this public front, and that comes with a lot of good things. It comes with a lot of bad things. People just don't understand you and treat everything you do as a political decision when it's not. It's there's someone to save there. There's someone to save there. I need to go as quick as I can to A to B.
Yeah,
and the third person doesn't get saved because it was the one that just was unfeasible. It was the one who the other two were kids, so the old person didn't get saved because that's just who you pick first. So on and so forth. Whatever the decision might be. But then that scene is by someone is no, you let my granny die. So you're evil because you didn't save my granny, and then
exactly
that spirals from
and you can understand that person for feeling that way.
Yeah, but suck it up and look at the bigger picture.
Right, of course, but human nature is inherently we think of ourselves on some degree, or like the point that says the dean, she doesn't really care until it affects her,
which is a really sad analysis
sad,
of human nature.
No, that's the thing. It's sad, but I believe it.
Yeah, that's the worst thing about this is that I think you can criticize this for feeling like it is all happened to the one guy and it is maybe ticking up a little bit too much too quickly.
Yeah,
but I also don't not believe it, and I think that's the saddest part about it is that it feels realistic enough because
I believe that these events would turn a man into this.
Yes, I believe if you change a few details, you can see how someone else becomes an extremist, towards another group of people. You can kind of see how it plays up. So, I mean, to its credit, we have talked almost 30 minutes on this one episode of Supergirl. I think it's the most
we've talked about Supergirl in a long time.
So it's getting conversation flowing, and it's bringing interesting ideas into debates. I think the other thing is that most hate is unfounded, but it's interesting how something like this then just kind of taps into that because it kind of naturally aligns with the hatred that's there for no reason. Because it's not like Mercy and Otis necessarily have a good motivation; they just seem to be bigots more than anything else.
Oh, yeah, that's it, and that's what a lot of it will be is just kind of twisting it. It's like giving them permission to have that hatred, right?
Yeah, because not everyone's going to have this justifiable sequence of events where you understand why they got to there. They're just going to be that way for one reason or another. Yeah.
There will be all these just small things of their life, upbringing. Like I think something we haven't talked about is the kid, right, in the family, who starts off being like, the grandpa's calling all the aliens roaches, and the parents are like, don't call them that. And the kid's like, it's fine, I hear it at school. But he seems perfectly normal, a perfectly nice kid, right? And then by the end, he's like, yeah, get the roaches. And it's just, it's a product of upbringing. And as he's dying, the grandpa, he tells his son, it's like, hey, you make sure you raise your kid right.
you do it like I did. They're all roaches.
Exactly.
Remember that.
Make sure he hates them, essentially.
Yeah, and how it spreads. Because this is the thing, as much as he's more empathetic up until a point, once he's crossed that line, does he even deserve to be thought of as differently to everyone else who's just hateful? Because at this point, is there any turning back? Is at this point, how can you distinguish? Unless you... Because we got to see his story. We got this window into it, but from the other end, when you look at the other side... Do you see anything other than just another hateful bigot? Do you see anything else?
How many of the crowd he's talking to have a story similar to this? Because some of them will, like we know the dean.
Some will, yeah.
Like she lost her home, right? We get something there. Some of them might have nothing really. Might be just a product of upbringing, society, just the social circles, right?
Yeah. So it's interesting. It's tackling these really big ideas about how hate spreads, how you fight hate. Which is something we don't actually have answers to in real life, so that's why it's so challenging to tackle it in this.
This is why it's going to be a tricky season to, or at least this story is going to be tricky to get to the end of, because while it's doing a fantastic job setting it up, it's whether or not it can find a satisfying conclusion that doesn't feel just cheap and easy. This is going to make us political talk this season, isn't it?
It's going to be a very political talk season.
There was a time where we tried to avoid getting too political on these shows.
I think if the subject relates to it, it has to happen.
The world got worse.
The world, or at least the world got more transparent. I don't know if I'm going to say it got worse necessarily.
Screw you, America.
It got more transparent. And there may be a certain floppy-haired tit who's partly responsible for it.
Yeah, I mean, a couple spring to mind. Floppy-haired tits in politics. I mean, But I mean, and then the show obviously is dealing with these topics
No,
in
it
such a
is.
blatant way. We can't not talk about it.
It is, and obviously it's coming from the perspective of examining hate because we're trying to get rid of hate. And I think it's very clear that we're also discussing this from the perspective of, no, we would like the show to succeed in this and try and maybe help understand hate so we can try and eradicate hate.
Would like it to do it with some nuance, but that maybe isn't possible. I'll settle for just it being enjoyable.
Do you know what the sad truth is, though? Is that I feel like sometimes you can't have the nuance because for the message to get through to certain people,
yeah, you
it
don't
has
want
to
to
be
go over
blunt.
their heads.
It has to be blunt and to the face. As sad as
Do you know
that
what
is.
it reminds me of? And I think it was the first episode. This is not no spoilers here, but the first episode of Sabrina that we just watched, and they were discussing the film, and three of them are all like, "Yeah, it's all these things. It's this, it's all these social messages," and the other guy's like, "I just thought it was zombies."
Yeah, they're analysing Night of the Living Dead. Yeah,
sometimes.
Yeah, you have to spell it out for some people.
Yeah.
Not that Harvey and Sabrina seems like a bad guy. He doesn't really need the message.
No, but just not the brightest bulb either.
No, but he's just a bit of a doofus, and that's okay.
Yeah.
You could be a doofus, just be a nice doofus, is basically what we're saying. Yeah, but I think that's the other big thing here is the idea that the spread of hate from Liberty and the Graves is the idea of manipulating people into their way of thinking, where the whole idea of trying to stop hate is the idea of making sure people understand everything so they can make an informed choice. Ideally, that's how it should be playing out. You're not actually trying to manipulate people into not being hateful, because the whole point is that manipulation itself is part of the hate. So
you're just making them aware of maybe what they're doing.
But then, of course, there's ignorance and just people wanting to believe because it reaffirms their own thing and so on, blah, 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 blah.
What you do about that is a whole different question, though.
Yes.
Yeah. Which, maybe that's next season.
I don't think it's for us to figure out on this podcast. I'll say that much.
I don't. We are not qualified.
No, this one will be split in two for the audio, by the way. We're over an hour and we're probably just getting to the end of the second show.
God damn it, Supergirl.
Look, it gave us something interesting to talk about.
It did.
What do you want from me? And even actually, just one final point. When he gets fired, he tracks down that one alien girl because he's convinced it was her that turned him in. And he's like, "You got me fired. Like, I'm trying to look after my family, and you got me fired. This job means a lot to me." And all I could think was, okay, first of all, you don't know it's her for sure, which she brings up, obviously. This is harassment, and you deserve to be ratted on because you were being inappropriate and being hateful. But on top of all that, like, just this idea that she should care about his home life when he's disregarding her home life because he doesn't want her there.
Yeah.
You should care about what's happened to me in my private life and not put me through hell. But, I hate you and just want you gone. Even though that would obviously completely ruin your private life because you'd be removed. I want to put that hypocrisy out, if that wasn't obvious for everyone.
What I'm waiting for, this is a serious thing, of what I expect them to do in the season is, obviously there is going to be a point where they question deportation, right? Can we send the aliens back to their planets?
Okay, yeah.
I want to know what they go, okay, but their planet's been destroyed. What do we do then? I want to know what they think the answer is. I'm genuinely intrigued as to see how this plays out.
I don't know if there'll be an answer. It'll probably be more, again, the argument, like...
No.
Yeah.
What I mean is, I don't mean the answer from the other side. I mean, to this hate group, what do they think? Okay, we can't deport. There's no planet to deport them back to. What do you want to do? What do they want to do with them, other than just kill some of them?
Yeah, the dark thought immediately goes to like a concentration camp, to be honest.
Maybe that's, and if they do go out and suggest that, credit to them to having the balls to go out there and
credit to the writers. You mean for
yeah,
not the hate group. Just I want to clarify that because the way you said that, it was like, oh, they've got balls to just say that.
No, I mean credit to the show for going.
Yes. Yeah, I could see them dressing up and not calling it that, just call it a camp, and then it would like slowly become suggestive as to where it's going. Maybe I don't know if they're going to do that. But
I feel like it's something that should come up in this plot. I'll be disappointed if they don't at least mention it at some point.
Yeah, the new president seems like a nice enough guy so far, though. So the one difference to real life is there'll be a competent president, maybe, who's not a dickbag.
Yeah, here's hoping.
That'd be the one difference potentially. So it's funny talking so much about this, and I know some people will hate this because you get these complaints anytime like a science fiction or genre show tackles like a social topic. And the funny thing with Supergirl at this point, if you hate them tackling social topics, you've already quit the show because they do it all the time.
You probably just hate the show, yeah.
Yeah, but like it was like the episode of Doctor Who last week. There was people like, oh my god, I hate when shows tackle politics. So all this SJW nonsense, blah blah blah. Get rid of it. And it's like, oh, shut up. Did it ever occur to people that stories are more interesting when it actually does try to tackle something, when it actually does try to say something about something, rather than just being a light fairy story that means nothing to anyone ever?
Even if it doesn't agree with your views, because there's definitely been entertainment I've watched that I don't agree with politically, but it still has more going on to it, right? No. It has more going on for its story. Because it's doing something, it's talking about something. I'm
going to have to ask you later what you're talking about because I'm curious what the examples are for this. But let's not go down that wormhole right now. Yeah. All right, let's move on. Supergirl went on for a while. All right, well after that lengthy and serious debate. And by the way, just on the topic of Supergirl, not to talk about the show itself, Stella. Just in the comments if you want to talk to us about that stuff specifically. Just be civil about it. Just talk about it and how they're doing it. Don't be hateful, any of that kind of thing.
We do not tolerate being hateful, especially towards other commenters as well. Be respectful if you're discussing things.
Just Jimmy's speech about hate in Catco last episode. That's just our stance. Don't tolerate hate.
Yes.
In general. All right. So just move it on. Just it's the case I don't want to cause you trouble.
Yes. Now moving on to something shite.
Arrow season 7 episode 3. It's called. It's called Crossing Lines.
I think you got some lines crossed in your brain then.
Apparently I did. I swapped the numbers. There was
prison stuff.
Prison stuff. Yes, there was a fight club in the prison, and Oliver wanted to get to the demon, who's not Ra's al Ghul, just another prisoner.
Yeah, I thought that was weird as well.
Yes, the demon who will maybe have knowledge about Diaz. So he wants that, but Vinnie Jones isn't having it. And he actually sets up a meeting and he says, "I'll go to this cell during the night time," and he goes there. But then Bronze Tiger's there waiting to kill him, and then Oliver beats the shit out of him and like, okay, you're going to take me to the real thing. What's going on in the prison right now? And it leads to this fight club thing, and we end up with Oliver in the middle of the ring, fighting off other criminals as the Green Arrow. Obviously still dressed as a prisoner. I just mean they're like, oh, the Green Arrow's going to fight so and so. And it's that's what Cody Rhodes' character. Whatever his name is, I can't remember.
I don't actually remember.
I feel like it was Derek Sampson. I was never going to remember that.
Did he not have a villain name?
He might have done.
Because obviously the drug was just his wrestling name, so they didn't use that for his character, right?
I've forgotten that. Was it called Stardust?
I think the drug was called Stardust.
Okay, that's funny. That's actually quite funny.
I think it was, but so obviously that's why they didn't use it for his character.
Yeah. So basically, what's really funny to me about this is I watched the movie last month called Brawl in Cell Block 99. It was a fantastic movie, by the way. I highly recommend it. It was a really good throwback to like a really grungy, violent thriller. It was good.
But does it have Vinnie Jones in it?
No.
So what you're saying is it's not as good as Arrow?
I'm saying it's much better. But there's a very similar plot beat at one point where he has to get himself thrown into a worse prison, so he'll be in the same place as another prisoner that he needs to get to. So he beats up some guards, and that's essentially what happens in this. Is that to get to the demon, also extending his sentence by whoever knows long.
He goes shanking.
He goes shanking into the guards and beats the crap out of some guards. So they'll throw him in level 2 or whatever they're calling it, the basement. So that's where he's carted off to at the end. And it's like, all right.
I think the best thing I can say about this, legitimately, is right. Okay, 3 episodes in, and he's worse. He's more in prison than when we started.
True.
So we have beaten Flash's record here now.
His new friend has now been left on his own, and he's scared that he's going to get beat up.
Yes, new Speedy.
New Speedy, as we call him.
I don't know his actual name.
Do it.
Go.
I want to drop an F-bomb. Anyway, I couldn't think of a replacement that rhymed with it.
Tell.
Do a cock. I don't know. So Yeah, that was the prison stuff. It's whatever. No. Here's the thing. I thought so the rest of the episode is that Felicity is with Agent Watson and she wants like, hey, let's take down Diaz, and even Watson's kind of frustrated because now Diaz, even though they have a hint that he's back in the city and they can maybe like get him, he's dropped to like number 17 on the most wanted, so therefore he's not a high priority. So the higher ups aren't giving her the time or the budget.
You'd think 17 most wanted
would
in
still
the
be worth
country
doing it.
would,
Yeah.
you should still probably do this. Yeah.
I feel like the top 50 are probably worth throwing resources at, but
At least top 25.
yeah, what do I know? What do I know? But she actually agrees to like do like a little mission with Felicity, Renee, and because Dinah's not having it. She's like telling Renee to piss off, but then Watson's there, and she's like, "All right,
Legitimize it a little bit.
we'll try this. We'll do a bit of a sting. We can't increase security because they're suspecting Diaz to go after this serum or chemical or whatever it is."
All I know is they were at the CDC, and I know that because they had a god-awful Photoshop logo for the CDC.
Which is, I guess legally they can't just use the real one, because I actually googled it to see what the actual CDC logo looked like. Because CDC is a real thing. That's not like a made-up thing.
Of course.
And there was two different logos that were in the image search like over and over again, but neither one of them was.
Because obviously FBI, I mean, maybe they have a different logo as well, but I'm just so used to seeing the yellow letters that I don't question it.
Yeah, I assume that's just what they have.
Yeah.
I assume that's based on a real thing.
Right, but I mean, you can't make that look bad, really.
It's just block letters.
But they use this really round, cartoony font for the CDC that just looks sharp.
CDC, we protect you from diseases, yeah. We're party town.
Really upbeat.
Don't worry about that new strain of Ebola. We've got your back, CDC.
Yeah. Don't have a graphic designer though, do they?
We didn't pay any money to a graphic designer because we're spending all of our budget on stopping diseases. CDC.
That should be their new slogan.
I just like the idea that CDC are kind of like a really pathetic, upbeat drug dealer who's trying to sell drugs to kids.
Yeah.
But they're actually just they're selling like disease control for the nation, which is a really good thing. But
yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, they do a bit of a sting, and Diaz and Cole show up, and Felicity's like, we need to get Diaz no matter what. But of course
obviously they don't.
There's a weird cut here though, because the fighting happens, and Dinah has a good fight with Silencer, actually, because again the noise goes away, and the fight's kind of enjoyable because of that. And then eventually, someone, I guess Renee, goes to help, and they take her down. There's a really awkward cut though, where it cuts really quickly, and we just hear them say, "Oh, but Silencer got away," and it was such a weird awkward cut. I immediately said to you, and in the very moment I turned to you and went, "They've captured her. They're just lying to Watson about it."
And it was really clear because there are ways of doing this without making it so jarring, right?
Yeah.
Have it look like she's running away, getting away, and then tell us later, no, we actually got her. Whereas instead, it was so in control, then to tell us she got away was immediately like, nope.
Yeah, fishy. So they've got her captive. Felicity gives a big heartfelt kind of, "I hate you for locking away my husband, but I respect you a lot more. I'm sad you lost your job," to Watson, because she's getting fired for this, by the way, or she's getting reassigned to a shit desk job somewhere, because of this little operation that went nowhere. So that's the thing. It was funny though, because all of them were wearing FBI jackets during the scene though. Like even Renee had an FBI jacket on, which I thought was kind of funny.
I would have loved for him to have the hockey mask with it.
Yes. So he's still not saying Hoss. We think we're saving that for when Oliver gets out of prison, then he can say Hoss to Oliver for the first time.
His first words will be "Hey Hoss."
Yeah. No fake Green Arrow again this week.
No, and no Flash Forward Island stuff.
No, none of that either. So at least they're not forcing that every episode, which is nice. But
we did have our flash forwards in a sense, though.
Oh, at the start, they did the whole thing where it looks like Oliver's like stabbing a guard, and then it does 12 hours earlier thing.
It's the sort of thing that they would have done anyway, even if they weren't doing flash forwards.
Oh, yeah.
It's tried and tested. Everyone does it. It's fine. I don't really have a big deal with it because you just, all right, I get it. It's not really as it seems. In this case, I mean, it kind of is. He is shanking a dude.
I think what's funny about it is that I feel like in TV most times it doesn't feel that justifiable why they're doing it. Like, normally, because it's almost like, oh, we need an extra like 30 seconds at the start. Oh, we'll just do a flash forward to this big weird thing at the end, and it'll be like everyone will be like, oh my god, how do we get to that? And then so it's almost cheap drama in a way.
Yeah, yeah. Do you know what? I feel is really guilty of it. Phase 1 of the Marvel movies, I think every single one of them does it. Maybe not Iron Man 2, but most of them do this thing where
Iron Man did.
Iron Man did.
Did Incredible Hulk do it? I don't think that did.
Oh, actually, no, Hulk didn't. But Hulk was a weird.
Yeah,
thing,
Thor
right?
did it. I remember
Thor definitely did it. Captain America did it because we started in the ice at the end.
I see that one's weird because that's like a wraparound because of who he is.
No, it is.
That one I'll give a pass because that one makes sense for what the story is.
It makes sense, but it still felt like, oh, we want to get on the formula.
I don't know. I don't even like that movie. I think that's a really mediocre movie. But I'll defend that decision in that one because that makes sense to me. And Iron Man had more of a complete sort of flippy kind of narrative structure, whereas Thor was literally just the opening scene was like hey, this is happening later.
Yeah, Iron Man did the first like 10 minutes, 20 minutes maybe.
Yeah, it kept cutting back and forth. It kept like going back to like, oh, here's how we got to there, kind of thing.
No, it didn't. You have the opening bit where he's in the car and he gets kidnapped, and then it cuts back 3 days or whatever it is, and because I rewatched this earlier in the year before Avengers came out, and he gets kidnapped.
It mentions MySpace.
Yeah. It cuts back to like 3 days earlier. He's in the casino, supposed to be getting that award for whatever it is that he doesn't show up for. And then it plays out the few days till he gets out there, shows the weapons demonstration, and that's it. It plays straight from there.
Yeah. See, I don't actually mind it in movies usually, though, because they don't usually do the whole 12 days or 12 hours earlier thing. I feel like in TV it's specifically noticeable because it feels like a really cheap way of just building the tension of the episode. And
it's supposed to, how do we get there?
And it usually just feels like they take one scene, show it at the start, and then slap a caption on it. Whereas I have no problem with narrative structures playing with it and moving things out of order.
I don't really either.
If anything, I like it a lot when it's done well. This is the kind of one where it just kind of feels like it wasn't necessarily written like that. It was just, oh, we'll just do it because we can.
No, what it is it's an easy way to create fake tension, right? Because you go, you spend the rest of the episode wondering how they got to that. 9 times out of 10 on TV when they do this, obviously there are good examples of it as well. 9 times out of 10, though, in my experience, it's that the first half of the episode is slow and uninteresting, and they want that in the back of your mind, being, "Ooh, how do we get to there?"
Yep, that's fair. That was it. Oh, there was a subplot with Diggle and Lila and Curtis going to Switzerland to steal data with a painting that's got nanotech in it.
Fake painting that Curtis whacked up on his printer.
Must be a good printer. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, like he's like, oh yeah, it should hold up for a bit. And this guy, they're probably saying like, okay, they're starting to clock on, but the fact that they have to study it that much to go, yeah, okay, this maybe isn't real.
It's a good printer. I mean, what if it's like a 3D printer that actually makes like a canvasy type
I'm just
material?
Saying it's questionable.
I don't know. I'll just say it. They've got high-tech stuff in the show, whatever. But the main thing here is that Lila makes a duplicate of the data. Curtis notices this, in the back end, tells Diggle. Diggle confronts her about it, and then she's like, wait, you thought I was like doing something fishy and like, selling info to villains? Like, what? No, I'm going off book because Argus aren't doing things properly. Kind of like how you and the Green Arrow did for like 6 years, you dick.
Yeah, it's funny how like just last it was like no, I'm doing this properly. I'm doing this with Argus. Argus are doing this the right way. I'm going legit. And then as soon as he does that, his wife's like, screw legit.
Yeah,
let's go off the books.
So it's just this. I don't know. That subplot was kind of tedious because it was the typical forcing drama on the CW because a character was lying about something, and then they have to do the confrontation. We have to have the argument about it, and it always feels kind of thin.
CW 101.
And it can work in well written things when you justify why the person would lie about it. But this was just like here for the sake of it, the extra drama. That was just
she could have just told them before. If she told them beforehand, they would have had this worry of, oh, hang on, why is this taking so long? They'd have known and they'd have planned it.
Yeah. Why is she concealing this from Diggle at all? There's not really a good reason. So
there's not.
Whatever. Arrow going to Arrow. There wasn't anything that funny this one, I don't think. I don't remember laughing that much. We should mention Diaz has like super strength now because he injects himself with a serum and he punches the wall and it he makes a hole in the wall.
Yeah. I like how that's the afterthought. Oh shit, yeah, Diaz. He got more of a bigger bad because he's back another season, so we had to make him better.
I don't want to talk about Diaz though. No. Diaz sucks.
Can we talk about Legends?
Let's talk about Legends of Tomorrow, which is season 4, episode 2. It's called Witch Hunt. We go back to the Salem witch trials, but
not necessarily to deal with witches.
I mean, there's trials there. There's some witch stuff going on, but here's the thing. I feel like after the first episode, which it's like, okay, something's going on at Woodstock. Oh shit, it's a unicorn. And then this one, which is something's going on at the Salem witch trials. There's actual magic. Oh, it's a fairy godmother who might be evil. I feel, and when I say fairy godmother, she is like, even Sarah's reaction is like, what in the Disney hell is this? She's the Cinderella fairy godmother. That's what she is.
Well, she references Cinderella.
She even references that glass slippers are stupid. You get blisters.
She's not wrong.
And I feel this might even be a trend for a while, where it'll always be something stupid. When we actually get to the reveal of what the magical entity is, it'll be something silly.
Yeah. Because we know that the whole thing is they're all fairy tales this season. The monster of the week is, okay, what fairy tale is it, right?
So I want to avoid spoilers every week because I don't want to know going in. I want to have the surprise of.
Yeah, I didn't know going in. I knew about the unicorn from the trailer. I didn't know it was last episode.
Sure.
That was in the original one trailer I watched.
Which I never watched, and I'm glad I didn't because I didn't know.
I was happy to know there was a unicorn in there. That didn't really ruin much for me. I don't want to know every week.
Took me completely by surprise. Also, there was a Bebo sighting this episode. There's Bebo Candy Crush on the tablet. Just want to point that out.
All praise Bebo.
Praise Bebo, of course. So they're back in Salem, and it's not the whole team. Nate's sticking back with his dad for dinner and stuff. So we'll get to that plot. And we have Ray, we have Sarah. Which, by the way, she did our pep talk. We're going back to the Salem witch trials, but she went to, because this is funny because there was a joke last year where she didn't do it one episode, and Ray was like, "Well, usually give it more pizzazz," and she sort of does a fake one. She's like, "All right, put on your things because the legends are going to church." Like that was like one of the intros last season, and in this one she goes in the other direction where she gets so into it. She's like, "We're going to get our Puritan," and she's like, and everyone's just sort of staring at her because even I thought it was too much, and then like that was
this
too
was
much.
Right after Ray made a pun as well.
Yeah. Because I actually thought, oh, this went a bit too far. But then that was the joke, because they're all like, no, that was a bit much.
Yeah, I was like, oh.
That was just a bit too cheesy.
Yeah. It's the way she put the voice on for it and everything.
Yeah. Constantine's refusing to dress up. He's not doing it.
I can appreciate that. I had everyone, I had Halloween this week, and everyone's going, "Did you dress up?" Did I? Balls. God, no.
So I really enjoyed. So while the main plot's going on outside the ship, for the first little bit, Constantine's on the ship with Mick, he gets to stay. I'm staying too, and it's basically a
pissing match.
Well, not a pissing match. What was it? What's the name of that? The Odd Couple. It's the Odd Couple where they're living together, and they're. One's wanting to watch this sport, that one's wanting to watch that sport. He's wanting food, but Constantine's hogging up the food materializer.
I actually appreciated the sports joke in this one, though, because Mick's like, I want to watch the football. And Constantine's like, well, football's already on, mate.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah. I thought, no, that was clever.
But so they kind of get on each other's nerves, and then they get sort of drawn into the plot because there's a fairy godmother. And it's worth mentioning that when they tackle this fairy godmother, because the fairy godmother, of course, is tied to this girl whose mother is accused of being a witch, and the idea is that she's using the fairy godmother to enact things. She makes the crows stab the guy in the eye who accused her,
really viciously.
Pretty vicious, and it's obviously clearly spelled out for us that he's only accusing her because the mum didn't, he made advances to her, and she was like, "Nope, I'm a widow. I don't want any men in my life, including you, go away." And he felt hurt, so he just accused her of being a witch, which is basically the entirety of the Salem witch trials. Yeah, that is pretty much it. I feel like there might have been one at the start where someone actually thought they saw something creepy, and then everyone after that was just some asshole.
We can get away with this.
Yeah, that was probably how it went. And someone who's actually studied it's going to correct it. It's like, I was just cracking a joke. Give me peace.
Slap.
Right. So we have that, and Zari, of course, has been feeling very kind of like, oh, she wants to help her mum, she can't, and she feels really pissy about this, and she's kind of pissed that they promised the girl they'd save her mum, and they're not going to because that would change history. So she,
I like as Sarah called it, that's canon.
yeah, I don't think I've ever heard that in a TV show before. Where someone says that's canon,
Referring to history. It's like, oh, that's canon.
yes, canon. If you're not familiar with the term canon, basically means that's what's relevant to the actual continuity of the main story. So one of the ways that it's used all the time in comics because things get written out of continuity, so it's this canon or it's not canon. But I think the obvious way of doing it is typically when you have a successful movie and then they write some books based on those characters, those will typically not be canon. You know, the second movie won't acknowledge that those books happened.
The usual rule is they're canon until they're contradicted.
Yes, but when they're writing the movie for the second movie, they won't care if they contradict anything.
No. If it happens to line up, great, it's canon.
In fact, hold on, where's my Exhibit A?
We've got an Exhibit A. Does that mean we have a B?
I could have a B. But here I have the Resident Evil novel, The Umbrella Conspiracy, which is an adaptation of the first book, or the first game rather. And there's things in this that are mentioned about backstory and some characters that are later contradicted by books further down the line, because these books were been written after each game came out, and then when my game said something later, they had to go back and go, oh well, this is just kind of... There's actually a note in like the third or fourth books with the author just saying, yeah, because we're developing these at the same time, there'll be things that don't quite line up. Oh, he's going to pull out a Star Wars book, isn't he?
I know. This is a Exhibit B. This is one of the newer Star Wars novels since all the rebranding as Disney took over, and this is canon because they made a point of, you know, they have a group overseeing everything so that it all lines up. It's
canon for a couple of decades until they want to wipe everything again.
That's fair. Honestly, I'm not. You know, obviously you've still got fans who are pissed off about the old EU.
Yeah,
being
but here's the thing.
Out. It's like it had to be.
That stuff was only canon for so long because they weren't making new movies.
Even half of it wasn't canon anymore because they got contradicted by later books or because there was a hierarchy. It went books. I think it was books, comics, games, or TV shows was near the top, obviously.
Yeah.
But there was a hierarchy of, okay, well, if this one contradicts it, then this one's in charge.
What do you think the copyright is on doing your own audiobook for a book?
Well, as in doing your own
like reading it yourself, yeah.
You probably can't sell it.
Yeah, I'm just curious.
You probably can't make any profit on it.
All right, okay. I was just thinking to myself, maybe I'll do a reading of the Resident Evil novels for a laugh.
I mean, if you could probably do that and throw it on Patreon and get away with that, and just throw it in with everything else. I would assume, but I doubt you could say, "Oh, I'm doing this," and charge people for that product.
Oh, sure, yeah. Oh, I was just thinking about it. I thought it was funny. Anyway, I like the idea of me doing a very serious reading of
all the shit campy jokes
of a book about zombies. Yes. Anyway, where were we? So Zari's not feeling very happy with this, and she ends up. And I knew where this was going. I knew she was going to like use her powers in front of everyone, and they were going to be like, "It's a witch," because obviously.
Right. That's a point. I'm gonna get my one complaint out of the way.
Oh God, what?
Where was my Monty Python reference?
They took the high road and didn't do it.
No. I wanted a reference to the witch scene from the Holy Grail. Not Holy Grail.
I've seen that movie.
Holy Grail.
I don't remember that scene.
What? Where they're like, oh, it's a witch, and it's like, how do we tell if they're a witch?
I'll be honest. The only thing I remember about that movie is the ending.
We're doing that on Influx at some point.
Oh, no.
I love that movie with a passion. We are doing it at some point.
No, I'm not feeling it. But point being, Zari ended up getting captured, and she actually realized what I liked about this scene is she actually realized she's scaring everyone. Like she realizes that even all the other women in the scene are terrified.
She's Darth Vader choking everyone.
She is. She's got ape shit with it, which is great. It's a good fun, and it's
never seen her do that before. Actually, with powers, have we?
I don't think so, and it's very cathartic, I think, for us because we're kind of on our side, like, yeah, choke all these assholes, yeah. But it's kind of terrified, and she realizes she's scaring everyone, and that she has kind of been a monster in the scene, and it's back to that old thing: is that you don't act as bad as they do, you act in a better way, you know, so on and so forth. But she gets taken as well to be burned along with the innocent witch from before. Not that Zari's not innocent, but you know what I mean. And in the context of what we're talking about. So they're taken to be burned, and they have to convince the kid to, let the fairy godmother go.
Yeah.
And there's some fun stuff earlier on, because when the fairy godmother's, because the kid's in the ship and she escapes with the fairy godmother turns Ray into a pig, and Mick, might I add.
Yes, because one of them calls us swine, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, right, swine it is.
And then she molds, she fringes Constantine's mouth together, and I say that because that was an episode of Fringe.
Just gets rid of it. It overlays it with skin.
Yeah. So that was fun. But and I think what's interesting though is that when they eventually defeat all this stuff and the fairy godmother's like disconnected from the girl because the girl gives her up, I thought it was interesting that when he says, "Hey, maybe I could use a fairy godmother," because he's okay with having her around, she's like, "No, I know what's coming for you. I'd rather go to hell. Send me to hell."
Yeah, I mean, it's one way of establishing a threat, right?
Yeah, it's a neat way of using your episode of the week to perk up your main villain, whoever it may be.
Yeah, if you're like, okay, no, this fairy godmother who literally can just make anything happen. We've seen all episode of her just, whatever she wants, right? It's like, no, I ain't dealing with that.
No, she's scared.
Give me hell.
Yeah. So no, that's pretty cool. Honestly, though, I thought the main plot of this one was probably my least interesting part of the episode.
I get that. I had a lot of fun though with all the fairy godmother stuff. When she comes out and starts singing, and Ray's like, "Hang on, is that music? It's just there in the woods."
The fairy godmother stuff was fun. What in the Disney hell is this? Was a funny line. There's a lot of good moments in it. I didn't like it as much as the unicorns last week though, and I think it's overshadowed by the fantastic Time Bureau plot with Nate, Ava, and Gary. Ava and Gary are fantastic. So Nate has a fight with his father again at dinner, and it's about him not having money and what's he doing with his career and blah blah. You can't tell him.
I did enjoy that. It's like, all right, credit card's been declined. Oh, what about this one? That expired in 1953. Pulls out these ancient gold coins. Do you accept these?
I'm going to do a quick Google. I'm curious about something.
Oh, okay.
I'm curious about something.
Is it something?
When did credit cards start being used? Because the 50s feels a bit early to me.
It was 53, wasn't it? That sounds
it said 56. Right. The first universal credit card, which could be used at the variety of establishments, was introduced by the Diners Club Incorporated in 1950. Right. Another major card of this type, known as the Travel Entertainment Card, was established by the American Express Company in 1958. So I think there was only one credit card that you could get.
Yeah, but he could have had it.
He could have had it. Yeah, that's fair.
It's just about plausible.
It does feel like. I mean, I feel like I don't think of credit cards being used by like the general public until like the 80s. In my head,
maybe they weren't used by the general public. But
yeah, maybe
it's like, well, screw it. I'm never gonna have to pay it off, so I'll get one.
But even then, like I can think of scenes in movies from the 80s where some places don't accept them. It's like, no, we only accept cash because they're still wary of this newfangled technology. Whereas obviously now everyone's using cards for everything.
Right, everyone's on contactless now.
Yeah, but I was checking. I was curious.
I can't remember the last time I paid for anything with cash, or even my card. I just pay on my phone. Yeah. I just phone, zap, right, done. Way better. So yeah, that was funny. But so it's funny. I didn't necessarily realize where we were going with this. That it was going to set up that his father, because his father's got a government job that he can't talk about, and it never occurred to me that he's actually going to end up being not a part of the Time Bureau, but he is related in the sense that he's there to like approve their funding. Yeah.
And so when he shows up, because Nate's not got a place to live in 2018 because the ship's not there, and
he's got no money.
And he's got no money, so he's actually hanging about in the Time Bureau. Because this is the thing. This is the first time I think we've ever had a scene where it just cuts to Ava in the Time Bureau doing her own thing, which is notable because she's a regular this year, so it makes sense that this will be more of a focus.
Yeah.
And given where we end up with this plot, that makes more sense as well. But she gets up and she runs into him and it's like, oh, you got no pants on, blah blah blah, joke. And then she's like, oh, I've got this big presentation. He's like, oh, how about I help you? I'm good at schmoozing people.
And you just got schmoozed.
You just got schmoozed. And she's shit at it. So he's like, yeah, okay, put on some pants and you can help me. And then the next day they see Nate's dad come in. He's like, no, I can't. It's like, no, this is terrible. We've got a horrible relationship. And she's like, it can't be that bad. He's like, literally the last thing I said to him was, I don't need your money.
Well, see, I think the last thing was, and I forgot my leftovers.
Okay, that was technically the last thing he actually said. But the last main part of the conversation was, I don't need your money. And given that this is about getting funding for the Time Bureau.
Yeah. Not a great look.
Not a great look.
Hey, Gary, you know my parts.
Yeah, and then Ava's like, no, not Gary. Not Gary. He's like, no, he knows my parts. He was up all night with us. He can do it.
Yeah, he knows the 3 C's. Confidence, charisma, and I don't think we ever learnt the 3rd C.
No, he just says crap because he forgot something. But I don't think there was a funnier moment in this episode than when it is, Ava and Gary are doing their presentation, and, Biff's kind of questioning it, and he's like, no, but this and that, and he's like, they're not mentioning the magic, and then Gary's like, no, but there's magic, and he's like, wait, what? There's magic? And he's like, yeah, there's this and there's that. There's a unicorn. That's like, and look, I can prove it. The moment when he rips open his shirt and says, a unicorn bit off my nipple, and then Ava's look, the expression in Ava's face broke me during this scene. This was phenomenal. And then when he turns them down and walks away, Ava turns to Gary and says, put it away, Gary.
And like that whole scene, because Gary's going through all the stuff that's happened over the past year, and Ava's like, yeah, that's actually all right. You didn't miss anything.
Yeah. Oh, put it away, Gary. Oh my god, that sequence broke me. I love Ava and Gary. Ava and Gary are 2 of the best additions to. Do you know what? This show has done such a good job of adding new characters, because so many of the characters in season 1 were so disposable. But Nate's great. Zari's been great.
I think
Ava and
season 1,
Gary,
we're literally down to just Sarah and Mick.
And Ray.
Oh, and Ray, of course.
But yeah, no, you're right. It's cut away the fat, the ones that necessarily weren't working. Not that were bad in themselves, all of them, although the Hawks were terrible.
Do you know something I heard that they might be doing this season that I can't wait for, in a weird way?
Oh, God.
We might be getting another version of the Hawks.
Another version of the Hawks, you say?
Yeah, maybe a different reincarnation, maybe.
Different actors?
It might be the same actors.
Oh.
But, no, you say that, but now the show is so self-aware.
Okay.
They are just going to be cracking jokes about it all episode.
I hope so. I hope it's humoured, because I
couldn't take it if it was serious.
I hated the Hawk stuff in season 1.
I genuinely trust this show enough now to not ruin that.
All right. I don't know. We'll see. But that was hilarious. And then of course eventually Nate has to come storming out, and he's like, oh wait, why are you here, Nate? What's going on? He's like, yeah, I'm a time traveler, Dad.
Ava schmoozes him.
Ava smooches him. That's right. Because she's like, you just smoozed me. Did it work?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, Ava and Gary are great. I love Ava and Gary. But so he goes to the time ship. He gets Ray as a pig. They come back.
Sorry. Let's not overlook the fact he's having a conversation with Ray as a pig, and Ray's just pig noisy.
And he understands him. Yeah, he understands. It's like Sooty or something like that, where he can understand everything he's saying.
Yeah, it's like, wait, what's that? You're saying she turned you into a pig? Where's Mick? It just cuts to him, eating all the food, obviously.
But I don't know why Nate thinks that Ray can turn back into a human at will. I don't know why he thinks that.
Well, I don't know if it's at will. But he goes, because Ray tells him that, although they're off dealing with it, they'll be putting us back to normal any second.
Okay.
So he's like, right, let's go. And thinking it's going to happen right away, he's like, come on.
Because, of course, eventually Ray turns back into a human and his arm's naked. And then Biff just goes, what will it take to ensure this never happens again? And she's like, $4.2 billion. It's
a year.
Done. Year, yeah, done.
Yeah.
No question.
And obviously he has to steal up because it's like, oh, hang on, Ray's heavy now. Let's turn on the strength.
Which I would have said just walk in and turn on the steel. I mean, that doesn't prove magic, I suppose. But...
It doesn't prove any of the other stuff, though, does it? It just proves that, okay, he can do that.
It proves that he's not, he's just as useless as his dad thinks he is, at least,
Yeah.
Here, I'm a superhero, Dad. I'm a time traveler, Dad.
I love that then it cuts to them, giving him the rundown, the extended version of what Gary did. And he mentioned, and then there was Volta and Bebo.
Yes. So all very amusing. So he steals up, and then Ava offers him a job at the Time Bureau. Maybe you could be good at doing this full time. You don't have to be on the ship necessarily. And there's this really sad moment with Ray where Ray's like ready to go, and he's like, "No, I'm going to stay and hang out with my dad for a bit," and it's all awkward. He's like, "Oh, okay, oh yeah, that's great."
Really long hug.
Really long hug. He's really upset that his best buddy's staying behind. And
Do you know, this is the point where if Ava wasn't like a regular, I'd be concerned that are we losing Nate?
No, I think it just means that the Time Bureau is just going to be equally a big part of the show now.
Exactly, which I'm okay with.
No, that's the thing. I love Ava and Gary so much, and Nate's great. That it's because that was the thing when it was just Ava and Nate in a scene together. I was like, this is weird. Ava's not really had solo scenes with anyone other than Sarah up until this point, but now we're getting these other scenes. We're getting these other bonding connections. Yeah, it's good. She has chemistry with Tim.
With everyone.
With everyone, but what I'm saying is before we really get to see it with her, with Sarah. But now it's like everyone. So that's cool.
And also, the more Time Bureau we get means the more Gary we get.
Put it away,
God
Gary.
bless Gary.
Bebo bless Gary. Thank you very much.
It's the same thing.
Bebo. Alright, we'll move on to The Flash then. Season 5, Episode 4. It's called Newsflash.
Ugh.
I can't even blame it. I mean, they actually got to Season 5 before they used it. I can't blame them.
Yeah.
They held out.
They did.
They held out as best they could. So, do you know what I'll say about this? This opened with like almost a sitcom episode scene of Iris making breakfast. Because I thought it was Nora at first who was being terrible at making things. And I actually laughed a little bit when it was Iris because I thought, oh, this is her trying to connect with her daughter. This is her trying to make her breakfast. And she's making, she's burning the pancakes, which I didn't even know. Until she said it, I had no idea what shape they were supposed to be.
I didn't either.
She's like, oh, the lightning bolts. And I'm like, oh, okay, I can kind of see why you're trying that.
You can see Barry doing this. It's like, oh, the zigzag. Okay, I can see it. Now you've said that.
But she's and then she the alarm goes off and she pulls her headphones out of the phone and the music starts blaring. Girls just want to have fun. It was really upbeat and funny, and they're sitting down and honestly I was just genuinely chuckling and laughing at everything. Barry pretending to light the pancakes.
Nora taking the pictures, and Iris being like, "What are you doing?" She goes, "I'll just get proof that you're shit at cooking in every time period." And
then it's like, how did you get a phone? It's like, oh, Dad gave me it a few days ago. And then she looks across at Barry like, you gave our daughter a phone? Like, that's really funny because, again, the context of her being an adult, but they're still sort of treating it like, oh, she's like a 5-year-old and like he's done something without her approval. But my favourite part, though, is at the end when Barry's still pretending the food's good and I was just like, just shut up, Barry. I know you're lying. Shut up.
Because she takes a bite and she's like, okay, this is all. Do you know what got me? She goes, I'll go make you a banana.
And he's like, make me a banana?
It's like, yes, make you a banana. Like, do you mean get a banana?
Everything about it was cracking me up. The sitcom stuff was gold, and it's the same later on when it's at the softball game, and it's just about how Barry's shit at it, which I don't even understand. He's got super speed. He can just pretend that he's doing it normally. Just speed his hand to the ball.
Yeah.
I don't understand why he's bad at this.
I think he's supposed to be doing the Clark Kent thing of intentionally being bad.
I don't think he is. He's just intentionally shit at it.
Okay.
All the humor only plays because he's not intentionally shit at it. Because, the whole joke where Iris is like, sending him off to bat, like, almost like the mum, like, oh, you're doing great, honey, and then he's like, oh dear, and then she's sitting down, and she's like, oh, that's a bad one, oh, Barry. It's just like, I swear, like, something happened between seasons 2 and 3, I think, where they somehow realised, oh, Iris needs to have a character, and she's been such a better character for the last few years because of it. She's really funny. For the most part,
I have some.
We'll get to the drama in a minute, right? Hold on. I'm still at the funny.
All the funny stuff she's been great with.
Yeah, I'm still at the what's that noise you've got on your phone there, Nora? Oh, it's an alert app. It's telling me about news in the city. It's kind of like Iris's thing. It's like, oh, kind of, but this is more up to date and better. And then it actually becomes a pissing contest between them to the point where Cecile and Caitlin are just like, oh, just looking at each other like, oh, this is getting dirty. And then of course, because the episode opens with this blogger character during the season 3 finale. Do you know what I think is funny? It's amazing to me how you add a bit of found footage and all of a sudden the effects look really good. Because like all the stuff falling down and her looking up and just seeing a glimpse of the flashes, like, you know, punch the satellite. It looked really good.
It's when you don't really have to focus on it. It's the side of the
Yeah.
frame. It's got that filter on it, right?
Yeah.
It just covers up a lot of
It does.
the dodgy effect.
It really does. It was like, man, this looks really good compared to the shows. I mean, the show does its best with effects, but it has that.
It's not the best, is it?
Yeah, it has that CW thing going for it. And it becomes this story, of course, about how she makes the headlines, and it controls people. Like, she'll write in, you know, guy tries to blow up softball game, so this cop tries to blow up the softball game, and she writes that XS saves the softball game, so XS saves it, and they don't know what happened or how they got there.
Yeah, I think they jumped to hypnotism a little bit. Like, obviously, we know that they're being hypnotized. We've seen that, but they just jumped to, well, I guess she's hypnotizing people. Like, hang on a second.
Well, no, to be fair, they don't know it's her at first. They jump to, because people are losing time and just ending up somewhere, and because by this point it's happened to both Nora and Barry, because Barry gets ran to Las Vegas. They basically say, oh, well, we didn't know anyone hypnotizing me, and then they kind of get on the track of her and how her posts seem to be early, like, you know, like a few minutes before they happen early.
It just seemed to me like it was a bit. First, it's like, oh, hypnotism. Yeah, it must be hypnotism.
Which reminded me, actually, it was reminding me of that Lois and Clark episode with the stories were always popping up really quickly because they were causing the story. Yeah. It was the same kind of idea here, just with a bit more meta thing going on.
Meta pizzazz.
Because we find out that the thing that happened at the end of last season did kind of create new metas in a way, but it was tech meta. It was technical objects, or
meta tech is what they call it.
Meta tech, yes. So her form was a meta. Cicada's whole thing is that the object's a meta, and he's got part of it inside him. Although he seems to be getting super strength by the end of the episode because he's crushing bars and shit.
Yeah, I think his blade, I'm assuming, is just a piece of the satellite.
Sure, yeah.
Not something that got infected. Like, you know, the phone got infected by it. I think his is just a piece of it, and he got a piece lodged inside him, which is why there's this link. And obviously there's dark matter, you know, so it is affecting him as well.
I'll give us some credit here. I think introducing us to a meta of the week that kind of tells us about this technology, or shows us an example of it as we're learning about it from the actual Cicada plot, is at least kind of smart. And I don't necessarily get the feeling that it still kind of means, okay, we've got this like new way of why we have like maybe the next 10 metas, right? It doesn't feel quite as listy as the last few though, where it's like, oh, here's how we have all the metas this year.
It's definitely not as bad as last year with the bus. It's like, here's 12.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Right. This is okay. There could be loads. I did roll my eyes a bit where they went, oh, you know what this means? Anyone could be a meta. Like, well, that's kind of been the thing for the past 4 years anyway. Anyone could have been a meta. That
is very true. That is very true. But I suppose this means it can be passed on. Like, someone can just give the phone over to someone else, and they're the meta. Which is at least a little bit different, because the reason why it got tiring, especially, not only was it ridiculous that the bus metas had like an exact number, and it was such a convoluted like way of getting them to be a meta. It was that this is the third year or fourth year in a row now where there's a specific event that creates a new list of metas. At least this one is a little bit different, because every other time it's just been a list of people who've got meta powers now. Every time.
Yeah, this is a bit more random, because the last few have been the bus. Before that, we had the Savitar. What was the other guy's name? You know, where he was creating the metas for Savitar.
Julian, whoever he was.
Yeah, but what was his?
Oh, I can't remember.
Yeah. Well, he was creating the metas, but again, it was very specific people every time, right?
Before that, they're all coming through from Zoom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was at least a bit. It was still varied enough then.
That was more interesting because it was, they're coming from a different Earth. That was like a new, exciting prospect at the time.
And they played with that a bit.
Yeah. Last 2 seasons, I felt a bit forced. This season, I think the tech's a bit more different and interesting, and it seems to be mixed in with other metas, because it's not like the last 2 weeks have been.
No, it's true. It's taken us 3 whole episodes to get to this.
Yeah, which is also a difference. So that's cool. So it's an interesting idea. So the big thing though, let's go back to the comedy, because the other big laugh I had in this episode was when, so we need to try and check and see if this woman's a meta, right? And this kind of is what establishes that it's not her, it's the phone. But we have to check if she's a meta. So because she knows who Iris and Barry are, they send in Nora. And we get this scene where Nora's talking and she's kind of geeking out, and she called her cute earlier on, which I noticed. And now here in this scene, the blogger's like, oh, you're kind of pretty, and it's kind of like going on, and Barry's just kind of sitting there in the van going, what's happening? He's just dumbfounded.
And then Iris is like, she's flirting with our daughter. This is unacceptable.
Yeah, and that was also really funny because it was like she's flirting with her daughter, and it just took it off. It was funny because it was like they've not had time to stop and process the idea that the daughter's of an age that she is going to be dating and doing. I mean, she shouldn't be in this timeline because she's going to mess up everything in the future. But because if she has a kid in the future in present, I mean, what sort of crazy shenanigans does that make for the timeline?
Lots.
But it's just funny. Again, it's typical sitcom family comedy, but it's funny because it's this group of people, and we don't always get to see them this way.
Yeah, it's definitely the best stuff in the episode.
Yeah, and yeah, Barry just going, "What's happening?" because he's just confused and doesn't understand. Was just really hilarious. But Iris comes in, and we get the confrontation that finally reveals the main reason why Nora is kind of hating her is because Iris put a chip in her that dampened her powers, and presumably up until her current age, because she says she's only known she's had powers for 6 months.
Yeah.
Because I would actually be on board if it was till she was 18. Because if she was a single mother dealing with a speedster as a child, how does she police her? How does she discipline her if she's got superpowers and she doesn't?
Yeah, I get that.
I would accept till 18 and then tell her, but she seemed to let her go till she's like 30 and not tell her. So fair enough. Nora's got a right to be pissed at this.
Yeah, and this is the bit where Iris immediately is like, "Oh, I wouldn't do that. I'm really sorry. I can't believe I'd do something like that," right? And she's all apologetic. And that made sense to me. And then it came around by the end. She was like, "No, I was right to chip you." I'm like, "Okay, well, Iris, you just made yourself unlikable."
More specifically, it's not that she was right to chip. She just believes whatever her reason is going to be, that it
was good enough.
It was probably a good reason. That's a little bit murky. Honestly, I wouldn't go straight to unlikable.
I think for me it was the blind faith in herself that even though she's gone, okay, that was pretty horrific what I've done to you for your whole life, right? And kept you like this, and she's like, "Oh, I'm sure I had reasons." Where and as Nora points out, it's like she didn't even know the reasons that she's done it for.
Yeah, because Barry sticks up for her, and I thought, or for Iris specifically. And I feel like I really like this scene. I just wish it was about something else. Like, I wish she was sticking up for Iris in a scene where they were fighting about something that wasn't as obviously Iris's fault.
Yeah, if there was something where
something where Nora was actually being unreasonable, and Barry stepped in and stuck up for Iris because she has been kind of cold to Iris. He needs to come in and kind of do that, right?
Yeah. No, I get the principle of that. Like you say, it's like showing support. It's like, hey, look, you worship me, but I support your mother, so you should support her too, right? I get what they're going for. I just don't think it works on this subject.
I think here's the thing. Like I say, I have no problem with the idea of dampening her powers until she's an adult, right? I think I understand the logic behind that, especially with Barry not being around specifically.
Do you know what it's like? It's like, okay, so the kid's adopted, right?
Right.
You tell them when they're maybe 13, 14, when they're old enough to appreciate and understand it, right?
Okay, sure, yeah.
You tell them then, and maybe Iris, you tell Nora at that age, like, look, you've got powers that dampened. We're gonna, we'll work through it when you're ready. You do you, right?
Yeah, to get. Which actually, that's one of the things that because she actually brings up that I didn't even find out from you, because she says that's one of the reasons why she's especially hurt is that I didn't even find out from you, which begs the question: who told her?
Presumably the same thing that
took her out.
That Wells was hinting at, that maybe gave her the idea to come back and stop the satellite.
Yeah, and also I assume that whoever told her also took it out.
I would assume so.
Yeah, that would be my assumption right now. Because that's intriguing. So, it's funny because I actually kind of like what they're doing with the Iris thing to a point, because I actually really like the revelation that she did this awful thing. Because for me before, I was assuming they were just cold and distant because they had a bad relationship because they just didn't get on very well, right? And I know
but she did something.
But she did something bad, and the bad thing she did is kind of interesting because as Nora points out when she's crying, and I thought she did the performance here was quite good. I thought. Where she says, "No, I was different the entire time, and I felt different, but I didn't know why, and you kept that from me."
Do you know what I like about this?
Yeah.
Is that it's the idea that they didn't always have a bad relationship. This is since she's found out.
Sure, yeah.
Because she at the start she's like, "Oh, I'm proof that you can't cook in any time period." Yeah. Is like, okay, so she knows what her mum's cooking is like. She's got that banter established.
Yeah. Also, if we get a running joke that Iris is terrible at making food, I'm okay to return to that.
Yeah, me too.
At any time. do you know what the sad part about that scene is I think the performances from both actresses is really good. Like Iris crying when because she gives her thing where she's like, no, I'm going to have to trust that I made the choice based on something that I believe is the right reason to do. Now again, I would come back in here and say she should have let her know at least at 18, or something like that. Give her a choice at some point. I'm assuming what it's going to turn out to be is probably that there's someone hunting speedsters and she wanted to keep her safe, or there was there's some sort of reason.
Do you know what? Here's the thing.
Hold on, let me finish my point. But I think the acting in this scene is after this, when Nora goes into why no, that doesn't justify it because of these, and she brings up she always felt different. She didn't know why. She didn't really feel like herself because of this. When she hits those lines, she's not only really great. Candice Patton's reactions in the scene are also phenomenal, and the tear going down her because she knows that as much as she has to trust this idea that she has to have blind faith in herself, regardless. But it's hurtful to hear what she's done to her daughter is actually a really interesting idea. I think the problem is that we don't really have a concrete idea as the audience as to why she made this choice, and it's hard to get behind it.
I think this is the thing. Why I said Iris became a bit unlikable for me is that I don't think she should be, as a character, having this blind faith and stuff. Because why should she? Yeah, she was so horrified by what she allegedly had done, right? When Nora told her, and she was like, "What? How could I have done that to our daughter?"
Well, this is the thing, though. I don't think this is obviously not the end of this arc. Though.
No, of course not.
The end of this is obviously Iris admitting that she was in the wrong and apologizing for it, right?
Right.
No doubt.
Right. Well, it's going to be it'll be a middle ground thing. It'll be okay. I should have told you. You should, but I think I was right to chip you to a point. And Nora will be like, okay, I understand you were trying to protect me, and but maybe you should have told me as well, right? It'll be a bit of both.
Well, that might be. No, that's the thing, though. I don't think it'll be a halfway point. I think that because the point we're talking about here is her not telling her, and I don't think the argument here is that she should have never done it in the first place. Because I'm willing to assume that whatever the reason is was because even if there wasn't a danger, I still think there's a justifiable reason that for a non-speedster to have a speedster kid to even be able to handle them as a parent when they're young, especially, it just makes sense, right?
Sure.
Like,
go on.
I don't know. And obviously the argument is, oh yeah, but what about the Kents? Raising Superman. Like, yeah, sure, it can work, but I get that in a real world context. If you're going to tell me that, no, how hard would it be to discipline a kid if they can speed off to another city?
Yeah, I think
at the drop of a hat.
The allegorical way of looking at it is she's a speedster, but that's like saying, okay, what if you're a parent with a kid with special needs, and you're just chipping them to make your life easier? And you if I said that to you'd be horrified. Oh yeah,
and I hope they tackle it from that side. That would be that's because that's when it got interesting. Is when Nora says that. When Nora says, "No, I felt like I was different and I didn't know why, and I couldn't process it." That to me is the interesting side of this argument, which is why, as much as I get what you're saying about Iris's motivations here, I can't just shit over this plot because it's actually raising some very interesting questions.
I'm not shitting over the plot, and I wish Iris wasn't so set, like saying that. Okay, future her does this and is set in her ways and makes her decision. I like that she did that in terms of the plot sense. But I think our present day Iris should be kind of horrified and not just be all in on it immediately. She should be like, well, maybe I have a good reason. Maybe I'll wait and see, but I don't know.
Actually, here's the reason, probably. I can probably guess the reason right now.
Go on.
Barry goes missing in this crisis. And obviously, she's just been born. We know that Nora's just, really young at this time.
Yep.
She makes this choice then because she's terrified of her becoming her father and going into the same dangers. And that's why she does it. Which is obviously wrong, because that should be Nora's choice. But
right.
But that's where
I get that from a decision to go down that when that happens. Yeah. It's just Iris right now being so stuck in her ways of being like, nope, I'm sure I'm right. I can't see any reason why I wouldn't be. It just feels so sudden for her to jump to that, and I don't know. It's really hard to connect to on that level.
I want to see what they do with it, because I think the scene and the plot line raises enough interesting questions that I think there's a lot of interesting things to explore here, and the idea that she did hold her kid back. In a lot of ways, and she didn't let her be who she was, and that's maybe why Nora's so obsessed with being with her father, is because that was a part of her life where she actively dampened it. Literally dampened her connection to her father and the Speed Force and all the rest of it. I think there's a lot of interesting questions that are being raised there. There's potentially a lot of really great drama to come out of this, because the scene itself, it didn't feel like bullshit drama. You can say that Iris's motivations here for jumping to this is a bit murky, but the actual emotional reaction to the response to it on both sides once it gets going does not feel like bullshit. It feels like really well handled in the scene drama.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
So we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a bit mixed in that sense. I like what it's trying to do and the implications for where it can go, even though I just don't like Iris in the present for it.
Yeah.
But
yeah, characters make mistakes. How many mistakes has Barry made?
A lot. Yeah.
This is the thing though. Even after this, Iris probably still pulls ahead of a lot of the characters, to be honest.
Okay. I don't know. She's kind of middling for me.
I don't know. Iris is one of my favorites on this show now. She has been for a while.
Well, fair enough.
She has been for a while.
I don't usually have a huge problem with her. Just every so often, there's a big problem like this for me that kind of drags her back down, that stops her being top tier.
Nah, I mean, I haven't really thought about ranking the characters in the show, but I probably like her more than a lot of the other characters.
She's probably above Caitlin, but below Cisco.
Nah, I probably like her more than Cisco. I think we're at like I think Iris and Ralph are like my two favorites in the show.
Ralph's up there,
and Nora now probably actually. Nora's quite good.
She's in the middle of the pack when it comes to among the Wells. Like some Wells I like more than her. Others
okay, sure, yeah. Well, not all Wells can end the Wells, I suppose.
Yeah,
as you put it.
Speaking of,
yeah, Sherlock.
I am all for renaming Ralph Baby Giraffe.
No, I'm not feeling that nickname.
I am. I'm digging it.
I have to admit, I'm not super feeling this Wells as of yet.
No, I mean he's okay. He's definitely not a top tier Wells.
I think the problem is that he feels too gimmicky. I think the other Wells that we've really liked have just been different types of characters of Wells, whereas this one's like, no, he's the Sherlock Wells.
Yes, or as the constant correction of Luke.
Yes, Sherlock Wells, who has a French accent, like he's so gimmicky compared to because even HR was very different, and he was very like silly, but he was like the whole point was he's the useless version of Wells. So how do we tackle that?
Yeah, and no, the thing is that makes him so different. This Wells so different is we've seen a lot of gimmicky Wells over the years, but they've all been bit parts. This is the first time our main Wells has been a gimmicky Wells,
and I'm not convinced yet that that's the right thing to do. However, the little subplot in this one with Ralph was okay. Ralph, no, we should check out why he wears that mask. And we've seen Cicada at work, knowing that he works in a place that would require this kind of thing. So we know he's kind of barking up the right tree. But when they do actually go and check it out, it's like, well, yeah, but we have like 3 factories in this county alone, and they all wear this mask. There's like hundreds of people, and then there's thousands in the state. And so on.
And we're not the only company that wears them.
So it's kind of that. But then Sherlock kind of figures out from that to make the sound that Cicada makes, he figures out that he's got damaged lungs because of the way he breathes.
It's not because obviously otherwise anyone in the mask would be making that noise, but they're not.
Yes, but I actually did. Caitlin's kind of a mediocre character for me overall, but I did actually kind of enjoy the punch me, and then she won't do it, and then he pisses her off intentionally to.
I was like, she goes, "I know what you did there." He goes, "Did it work?" Yes.
It was when she stood up and just with intent to punch. I was like, okay, that was kind of funny.
Yeah.
And he kind of figures this out. So they've got a bit of a
lead.
Got a lead. Do you know what's funny? I think
feels very early to be having such a lead, doesn't it?
Yeah. Do you know what I'm liking about Cicada? Obviously, his look and his voice are really silly, right? And I'll still criticize that. I'm kind of liking how they're not showing a lot of him. He kind of feels like a serial killer in a cop show, where we're just getting these little glimpses of him here or there, like seeding what he's up to.
No, that's true, because in this one, we get that one look of him in the plant, where he's there. And then we get the one bit at the end where his wound's acting up.
Yeah. I like that it's been restrained in how much we're shown of him. I mean, obviously we have to see more of him eventually, but at least right now they're keeping him quiet. They're keeping him just kind of being. It's cheesy still, but like.
Yeah, like I said, I'm intrigued to see how they extend this out of the season because right now it feels like we're making pretty good progress on the investigation of who he is.
Yeah, I wonder if his daughter becomes the villain. Like the daughter wakes up and like he's
Maybe.
dealt with by mid-season, then she wakes up and it's like, oh, they killed my father. Prepare to die.
Maybe, yeah.
Come on, that was a solid reference.
It was, but I really don't like that movie, so I'm not giving it you.
That's an okay. I don't particularly
That's
love it.
shite.
It's okay. My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. So no, that was Flash. I mean, I was mostly into the episode. I think I liked it more than you.
I still mostly had fun with it. I just had a few key problems.
I think. Like, I don't necessarily like that Iris is like assuming that she's making the right choice either, but it doesn't bother me as much as it bothers you, seemingly.
Oh yeah.
But there's a lot of drama potential there because it's kind of hitting at things.
Yeah.
So.
But my problem is the drama potential is all still there, even if Iris admits that okay, maybe I was right to do that, but maybe I wasn't. Like even if she takes that stance in the present, the drama is still there of well, whether or not she stands by it. As far as Nora's concerned, she did do that. That's still all there to play with, regardless.
Yeah, but I think there was something in Iris saying, you know, maybe I was right. I mean, maybe that's where the problem is. If she just said, I might be right to do that, I don't know yet.
Yeah, that's my point. Like, I'm okay with her saying, well, maybe, I don't know. But it's the fact that she is so determined, like, no, of course I'm right. Like that she doesn't even consider that she might not be at the end of this.
Honestly, it may just be down to poor phrasing. Like, and obviously not her, more on the writers, but
yeah,
just in the sense that it's not so much as she's accepting that I definitely do the right thing. It's just that the because obviously the villain makes XS try and kill Flash, right? And she has to swoop in with a gun and like knock her out with a trank. And the idea is that from that she's like, okay, I can kind of see how eventually I might have to like, you know, make this choice. She instead phrases it as, oh no, like I have to believe that I made the right choice instead of saying I'm
sure I was right to do that.
Yeah. I think it might just be down to phrasing. I'd be interested to go back and watch the scene again and see the exact phrasing of her dialogue. Because I don't think it's exactly what you're saying either. I think it was kind of
okay. That was definitely the interpretation that I got though, and
oh sure, yeah, no,
how it came across.
I'm not even disputing that. I'm just saying I'd be curious to actually just reanalyze the actual the way it's phrased specifically, because you can almost just read it as she's trying to like just sort of trust that I didn't make this huge mistake, rather than anything else. I mean, even that concept. I know the details of this. Just the idea that as a person, that you do something really weird, not weird, but like you do something that could be perceived as bad in the future, but you have to take it on faith that you actually have a good reason for it at the time when you eventually do it.
Yeah, I think you hope that you do, and you want to believe that you do.
Yeah.
But like I say, I think she just comes. Maybe it is Paul when she comes across as overzealously believing that she definitely does the right thing.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. That's Flash. This is a long episode because we went almost half an hour on Flash there as well.
Yeah.
Which is funny
because
I mean, Arrow was shorter, Legends was a bit shorter, so you know.
Yeah, we've had at least 3 long shows, right?
Yeah. So hey, if they were all half an hour, this would be a 3-hour show every week.
That is a terrifying thought.
It's a terrifying thought.
It's already at the point where we block out Thursdays. Is okay. That's just the DC stuff now. That's it.
It is.
Like we can't do anything else with that.
Next week we have a bit of leeway because 2 of the shows are off, so we can fit in something else.
Yeah.
But hey, so we're talking about Black Lightning. This is season 2, episode 4. It's called The Book of Consequences, chapter 4, Translucent Freak. I was really curious when I saw the title at the start. I was like, oh, who's the Translucent Freak? What's this? And it's actually something that Henderson says to Tobias because he knows that he's guilty, and Tobias is sitting there knowing he's guilty. Because we found out obviously he was arrested at the end of the last episode. We suspected that he intentionally got arrested, and it seems to be because obviously he's been in hiding for the last like 20 years or whatever it's been.
Yeah.
And this is him making his public return, and that he's going to be exonerated for his crimes. He's erased all the evidence.
He's confident that he's good now, so he can come out, and they've got nothing on him. They have to let him go. Yeah.
So he's even getting interviewed by the press at the end. It's a whole thing, and of course Jefferson's not happy about this. He's bubbling his water.
I'm so into Tobias as a villain.
Sorry?
I'm so into Tobias.
Oh yeah, Tobias is a good villain, and this feels like a big deal because it's like the next phase in Tobias' story where now he's back out in the open. He's almost like the Lex Luthor of the town now because everyone sees him as this, like upstanding figure to a point. But the cops
maybe there'll still be people who question it.
Yeah,
it's like okay, well it was exonerated, but you know that accusations stick, right?
Yeah, but he's kind of got that thing going for him now. So we started this episode off with what was very quickly apparently a dream sequence. So it turned out it was actually like more of the therapy stuff with Jen in her head, but because she's got on like what was to be a prom date with the dude from last episode or episode before that, whatever episode he was on, and like they're all happy, they're taking photos and they're making fun of Jefferson because he's using an old camera and all the rest of it, and then Khalil just shows up, and I thought.
Darts everyone.
And well, even before the dart though, I was like, okay, I think this is a dream sequence. This is just too weird. But then he starts darting people, and Jen she takes off her heels and starts fighting them like proper like she's had training. And I'm like, wait.
Yeah, we know she had training to some extent, like all the self-defense. So we went through that last season. Like, that was pretty established.
We've never seen her
made sure that they could.
Yeah, we saw her obviously flip the girl that attacked her, but we've never seen her in a combat fight like this where she's like trading blows with someone. And I was like, all right, okay. But the idea is, in her head, she's like fighting. She's fighting the urge of Khalil essentially in her head. The idea that he's this presence, but she still has feelings for him. He's still coming for her, but she's trying to hold him off as best she can. So she's taking all of her strength and energy to resist that. And of course, by the end of the episode, she actually does kind of go to Khalil because her parents decide that she's unfit to go back to school. They're going to homeschool her because she's too dangerous. As they point out, she fries because she fries a laptop when she's thinking about stuff because she gets an email from Khalil, and then we get and that was okay. That was fine. Whatever. That wasn't funny on its own. But then there's a scene where Lynn says, "Oh, by the way, Jennifer fried another laptop." It's like that girl is costing me a fortune.
Yeah.
That made me laugh. That was a good line.
And they have a point where they go, "Look, yeah, it only takes one little incident for the school to go up."
Yeah, exactly.
If that's what you're doing with your laptop, right? It's understandable.
But this upsets her, and we know that she's been hating that she's like under house arrest essentially.
Yeah.
And this is kind of what drives out Khalil because her parents aren't really listening to her needs specifically. Because what I like about this show is that sometimes Jefferson and Lynn make mistakes, and and I think that's the thing here with Nyssa, the plot in this one, where he gets mad at Nyssa for what she's been doing with stealing the money. And says, no, now you've made the clinic a target because now the people who wanted rid of it might attack it. And she's kind of like, oh, well, everyone's always a target in Freeland. We're always under fire. But then obviously there's a bit of a told you so moment at the end, or not the end, but later on where Gambi's like, nah, like that's a target now. Those people are going to try and bomb it. And it becomes a thing. But she gets so mad that she leaves the house. And I like at one point where Jen like confronts him about it. He says, yeah, of course, because you're perfect. You never do anything wrong. You're never the one in the wrong. And you know what? Yeah, he is kind of self-righteous. And he usually is got good reason to be, because he's a pretty upstanding guy. But he has a hard time kind of admitting when he's the one who's kind of flown off the handle, or he's the one who's went too far. And it's something I think it's actually really good writing, because Nyssa does the same thing, where she goes headstrong, she does the thing, and then someone points out that maybe she should have thought about that first. And he's just as guilty of it.
Yeah, but they're both aware. They're kind of like, because they have that point where neither of them actually apologize, just accept the other's apology. Yeah, it's a good scene because it shows how well they know each other. But it's good writing because it's like father like daughter. They have similar tendencies, and it's a really good way of showing that. It is.
I thought it was effective. So yeah, they stake out the clinic, and there's a woman who pretends to be pregnant who puts a bomb in, and they both go in and deal with the bomb in different ways. He's got an electric bubble. And she just
covers it.
She Supermans it essentially.
Yeah, she just dives on it.
Yeah, holds her breath, and This show loves to do the slow motion walking away shot. They love doing it.
Oh, it overdoes it a bit.
It does, but it's at the point now where it's almost went full circle and just started being like funny to me,
Funny.
and I enjoy
I'm
it.
not-
It's like, yeah,
I'm not
do
quite
it.
there yet. I can see it coming though.
But now I just smile when they do it because it's just so blatant
I'm
now.
still in the point of okay, another one.
Yeah,
Right, I get it.
I can't blame you, but I've went full circle. I think now. I think I just like it.
I think I'll get there soon. I can feel myself edging towards it.
So yeah, so that was that plot. Kara actually dies, unfortunately, because she was such a badass in the first episode that I was hoping she'd stick around.
Yeah.
But she tells Gambi about Tobias having the briefcase, and gives him the details.
And Gambi had a bit of a tussle out on the street when they were in the clinic with the woman who dropped the bombs.
Decent little scene. There was some obvious stunt doubling going on for Gambi, I thought. I think it was notable because whenever it was a stunt double, even though it was the back of the head, it was like, that's a younger dude. Like, I could just tell.
Yeah, I think Gambi might die this season.
I can see him having the heroic, death.
I think now he's getting involved out in the field again consistently.
That's definitely something to do at the end of Anne's season. I don't know if it's going to be of this season, but I can definitely see that being a big plot point in the show.
Yeah, I mean, it's too early to really definitively say. I've just got a feeling.
Yeah.
But I mean, they could very easily be wrong.
And it'll be Tobias, maybe. He'll take one more person close to him.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, is it a bit too obvious though to have him take the second father figure?
Yeah, maybe. That's a fair point. I don't know. I'll tell you what I like, though. I like that, Jefferson hearing that they're going to release Tobias because they have nothing on him. He goes in and says, hey, I was a witness. I saw him kill my dad. And I like the scene with was it the DA, I think? Or the assistant DA, whoever it was.
Yeah, whoever she was.
Who, okay, let's do a mock trial then. I'm going to, interview you. And she basically just points out why this won't work. And she shows him, and even Jefferson by the end of the conversation,
because he gets really hot-headed and he stands up and he goes, "Oh shit!"
Yeah, he realizes everything she's saying, that because he lied in the first place as a kid, they won't believe anything, and how it'll be twisted and turned, and how he's kind of useless as a witness now. I thought it was an effective scene because it made a lot of good points. It's like, yeah, that it wouldn't work because of these reasons, and here's why, and then he's convinced of it. So. We didn't talk about the school, though. We didn't talk about the kid being expelled.
Yeah, principal douchebag.
Douchebag, there you go.
I don't know his actual name, but that'll do for now.
It's Lowry, but I only know that because the last episode was called Master Lowry.
Right, okay.
So there's two kids fighting. Jefferson's in his class waiting for, the bell, whatever.
Yeah.
And he hears a ruckus and he comes out and there's two kids fighting and he pulls them apart. And he does kind of the classic thing where he gives a bit of a speech about not solving things with your fists. Hatred only benefits.
Makes them apologize. Yeah. They're both very civil with each other.
Shake hands, and he's handled it in a way where he's not going to discipline them because he wants them to learn. And immediately the principal Lowry walks up and says, "Okay, who started it? Okay, you're expelled. You're suspended for a week for participating." And of course Jefferson immediately is like, "No, wait, no. Like, we've solved it. It's done. It's dealt with. It's fine." And then he follows him back to his office and slams the door.
He says to the kids, like, just go to class, I'll sort it.
Yeah. And he tries to. To his credit, he goes to the office and says, "No, look." And to be fair, like, this isn't just like in my school, no one would ever be expelled for fighting. Like, not in one fight. Like,
God, no.
No, fights happened all the time.
Our school officially had a zero tolerance policy, but zero tolerance did not mean expulsion.
No, it meant maybe suspensions every time. I mean, sure, if you got into fights often, sure. Yeah, but the idea that there's one fight and he's like not expelled, zero tolerance, that is absurd to even just my history in school.
That is ludicrous. Like, okay, you were in a fight, detention, suspension. Sure. Yeah. The kid who gets a week suspension, that seems perfectly fair to me.
Yeah, from what I remember in school, yeah. I mean, I was never in a fight, so I don't ever get suspended.
I was in a couple, but I got suspended once.
You little rowdy miscreant.
Not really, just one or two. And,
About what? Suspension. What started a fight?
The guy was a dick. He punched me, so I punched him back.
So you didn't start the fight, that's what you said?
No, I didn't start the fight, but...
All right, okay, that's different.
He punched me, so I punched him back and knocked his tooth out, little shit. Yeah, and then I got suspended for knocking his tooth out. What do you want me to do?
Don't solve your problems with violence, Connor.
He hit me. I'm not gonna just stand there and take it. I was a very short ginger kid. I couldn't afford to sit there and take it.
Oh, fair point. Fair point. So, but he tries to argue with the principal, and he doesn't play the piece. He flat out brings up, no, I mean, you know what? I'm only here to like make this transition go smoothly, and he just
to make you look legitimate.
Yeah, cards on the table. Like he doesn't hold back. He's honest about it.
Because the principal's like, oh, you don't like it, go, and he's like, no, you can't have me go because you need me here.
But no, the principal stands his ground as well. He's not giving in. He's no, this is the way things are. Because he points out, no, if you're going to send him out there and expel him, he's going to turn into the thing that you're thinking he is. Whereas if we try and help, because one fight does not make him that. One fight does not make him anything other than just a student that get into a fight.
There are plenty of people who get into fights at school. That's reality.
Yeah, although your life's not turned out so well. So I suppose.
And then literally, I'm here with you. So if mine's not turned out so well, how's yours doing?
I never claimed mine did turn out well. What point is that proving?
The point is, don't put me down when you're there too. Yeah, people with glass houses and all that.
This is literally not going to stop me from tearing you to shreds every chance I get for the rest of life.
Oh, I know.
Just for the record. But no, I thought it was an effective scene because it was showing how he deals with things in school, because that's been a big part of his character, and then showing and how he fails here, and how Lynn equally fails on her side, where they lose a kid, and the psychotic doctor, because
well, they're all gonna die. Let's just let them die and get the data.
I'm kind of digging how mad scientist she is, because she actually brings up the samples that came from Nissa and Jennifer and that. It's like, oh, these two have to be related. It's just simple genetics, and she starts talking about, oh, we could cut them open and we could figure out all these kind of things, and it's like proper mad scientist speak, and Lynn's just standing there terrified because she's talking about her family.
I kind of love it.
Yeah, no, I was into it. It was kind of verging on cheesy, but I mean, mad scientists by nature are kind of cheesy.
Yeah, I'm kind of a sucker for mad scientists.
Yeah, no, I was digging it, because that's one thing that these shows have not had really, is a proper good mad scientist. Not really.
I don't think we've really tried.
No.
At all. I mean,
you could argue Thawne kind of is in a weird way.
But he was never mad. He was an evil scientist, but mad scientist is very different.
Okay, sure.
It's the manicness of a mad scientist, right? Is just the need to do it for science. Whereas, Thawne always had a goal.
Sure, yeah.
It was a very, very clear objective, whereas mad science just, no, I want to further science. I want to do something because I can.
Yeah, I want to play with the things and see what happens.
Yeah, defy the rules of nature.
Yeah. So that was Lynn's side of things, and that was everything, right? We did all the family members.
Yeah,
that was pretty much it. Yeah.
Jennifer meets up with Khalil at the end.
Yeah, we mentioned that earlier. Yeah.
Did we mention the ending? Okay.
Yeah, because she goes to him after the parents say she's going to be homeschooled. So she's kind of fallen into that, which I'm sure will be a sticky or a slippery slope, and we'll see where that leads until she eventually kind of makes more of a choice. It looks like the actress who plays Kara is a regular still. I'm wondering if.
Well, I mean, we had some things last season where we played with dead characters.
That's true. I wonder if science brings her back, or if she has a twin sister or something.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Or her twin sister Tara will show up.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Kara's last request is to be burned and not buried.
That's true.
Now, do you think? Obviously, it could be just to sympathize with to make it seem human. It's like no, that's my request. Yeah, that's how I prefer to be.
It feels specific though, right?
It does. I'm like, okay, is there something in her body that she doesn't want discovered? Right? Like something in her genetic sample. Yeah, it's like no, burn my body.
Or she knows she'll come back in some way.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Gambi says he will burn her though, and I've no reason to doubt him.
I wonder if it'll just be a case of
an honourable enough request.
Maybe he just doesn't do it quick enough. Maybe he's going to do it, and then he notices something weird, and he looks into it, and while he's looking into what's weird about her, the thing happens or something. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I mean, it could be nothing. I could be overthinking it. It could be just a case of no, that's how I want to go, right?
Yeah, I'm liking how Gamby's dealing with like trust issues, where he tells Jefferson everything that happened with Nissa last episode, and he's kind of pissed about it. He's like, "Would you let her do this?" Like, yeah, because I didn't want to betray her trust, and I'm telling you now because I don't want to betray yours. You know, like I kind of like that.
I told her that I would tell you after
Yeah.
the fact, and now it is, so I'm telling you.
And then later on, when she shows up to stay here, when she's like been kind of kicked out, he says, "I'm going to have to tell your parents you're here, though." And she's like, "Yeah, I know." And it's like I like how like kind of brutally honest he's being to keep the trust, because he lost that trust for a while, and he's treating it in a very precious way, and I feel it makes sense to me. So
no, I'm digging it still.
Yeah, solid as ever.
Might be my favorite of the season so far. It felt like the most whole episode.
Yeah, I think the bomb threat and the clinic gave it like the action kind of wrap around it.
Give it a bit of a through line, as well, like an episodic through line, as well as just the okay, here's the plot.
And everything's kind of ramping up now that Jennifer's actually maybe falling in with Khalil again, and now that
Tobias is back into the so that'll be a lot to look forward to.
Yeah, there's a lot of big stuff going on right now, so really good stuff. So we finally wrapped up talking about the episodes this week, which means we can do what we do here, which is we pick our favorite of the week and out of the 6. And is it as clear cut this week? Because I don't think it is.
I think it's down to a couple, but
because last week it was like, okay, it's obviously Legends, right? Yeah, lol. But this week I don't think it is Legends. I don't know if it is.
No, Legends is in competition just because even if you said the main plot wasn't as necessarily good as last week's, but
true.
I still had so much fun. So it's in contention. But honestly, it's Supergirl.
It is Supergirl. Yeah, I think it is. I think Supergirl did the riskiest things. It did the most. Because here's the thing: as much as we had some critiques about Flash and about Iris' side of things, I still want to give it credit for trying something that is genuinely interesting from a drama perspective. I think Supergirl's obviously doing a better job of it so far.
And that's the thing with Supergirl is I don't think it was perfect because I mentioned a bit clunky here, a bit on the nose there, but overall, I really like what it was doing. And you got to reward the attempt.
Yeah, it's definitely. I'm not going to say it's the best episode of anything any episodes of any of the shows so far this season, but I'll say it's the most interesting of any of the episodes so far this season in terms of what it's trying to do and accomplish.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
But no. Yeah, there was nothing. I mean, obviously I don't like Arrow, and Titans is kind of on its similar path of what it
exists.
But I think, again, there's nothing that I outright look at this week and go, because by the time we got to the end of last season, like Flash was a stinker a lot, and Supergirl was kind of a stinker a lot.
Not in a great place, was it?
I don't feel like it was a stinker this week again, out of the 4 that I expect to be good. And even Titans is not that bad. Like, Titans has got some stuff going for it.
No, listen, I think I had some problems with Flash that I wouldn't put it into stinker territory, but stops it being in, okay, no, this is really good.
Yeah.
For me. But the others definitely are. Supergirl and Legends pretty fall into. No, these are great.
Yeah, so there you go. That brings it into this very, very long episode. I am actually very hungry. I have to do some editing. We have a Sabrina episode to edit quickly and put up.
I have to be up for work in about 5 hours, so. Yeah.
So we will wrap this show up here. So thank you very much. We'll see you guys next time. Let us know what you thought of the episodes in the comments. Yada yada yada. All the usual stuff. Twitter at @mailed_fuzz or at DC Comics Podcast for specific DC stuff. Get us on Patreon.com. That's the important one to say. Patreon.com/MailedFuzzTV, where you can support the show and everything we do here and get some bonuses and whatnot. You can do that. But that is us. So I'll be nice and quick with it. That is us. Thank you very much once again for we're over 50 episodes, by the way. I think last week was episode 50, if I remember.
Was it?
So there you go. That is us. Right. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching DC TV, guys, and always remember that sometimes we screw things up for the better.